beer sound.
That was a good sounding beer crack. All right. Hello, Internet. My name is Sean Michael Patrick Thompson, as always, your host of Drink to the Past, the only podcast where we have a ubiquitous opening monologue before we get drunk and talk about video games. Unless, of course, we got drunk earlier that afternoon, but that's a different conversation for another day. That's our new segment of the podcast where I have a ubiquitous opening monologue. Do you like it?
It's perfect.
I love it.
All right.
Excellent.
Sweet. And of course, today I am joined by three very wonderful guests. We got, of course, returning our good buddy Crowbird. Crow's always here.
What are you talking about? Never been here. First time.
Right, yeah. Something like that. And returning again is Mr. Shabazzle himself.
That's right. Hello. It's very nice to be back. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, anytime. And first-time guest is the lovely Skip, according to Twitter.
Hey, it is an honor and a privilege. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And of course, we now have gameplay all the time, so we're gonna have a fun time with Sonic 06. So I haven't played this game since probably 06 or so. So I'm probably gonna be even worse than I usually are. Ooh. What are these?
I love these hard drive names.
Yeah.
Warp Star.
I think the Warp Star was my... Let's see. No save data exists. Okay.
I guess this is probably the worst thing to come out of the year 2006.
That is possible. All right. Ooh, there is multiplayer in this game. I didn't even know that. All right. So, anyways, Sonic. There's different characters in this game? I forgot that too. Oh yeah, I guess there's Knuckles later. I remember vaguely playing.
You don't even
I had a lot of trouble with Knuckles now that I remember it. I'm like...
There's quite a few characters.
I remember back in 2006, this game looked freaking amazing. And that was its redeeming quality. Like, these cutscenes for 2006 are, like, really good.
I mean, they look good now.
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
I like how we all start complimenting it, and then I push start and skip it. Screw you, cutscene. All right.
You're going to be on the floating screen for the next 12 minutes, so...
This part's behind us. Oh, God.
Oh, I'm helping her, apparently. Anyways, let's get into the first segment of the podcast. Is called What You Playin'. So in What You Playin', we just talk about what we've been playing lately, the past week or so. I mentioned this a little bit last week, but I got into it a little more this week. I've been playing the Turing test on xCloud, which is really cool because the streaming quality is like a billion times better than Stadia. So that's just wonderful. And of course, a little bit of Mario All-Stars here and there, and a little bit of Doom Eternal earlier today. I got the chance to finally... I haven't played that nearly as much as I want to, because I'm just like, my kids are awake, and they're too young for gore and explosions. What do I do?
I can identify.
Yeah. So that's been kind of interesting. What you guys been up to? Who wants to go first?
I'll
talk to people.
I'll start.
Go ahead.
I've been playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Okay. I played through that game.
I'm on the Switch. I'm enjoying it, but I'm discovering that it's probably not the best game choice for myself because I'm not getting anywhere. Like I just keep getting distracted.
Mm-hmm. Just stuck on side quests and exploring and stuff?
Like, every time I run into a character, they're like, please help me, and I say, yes, make it a main side quest. And then I forget about it, and then I keep running, it's like, oh, sparkly little thing, and I'm always digging everything up, and then I die, and then I start over. I'm just going around in a circle. But I'm enjoying it. So, like, I was talking to Kevin this past week, and I've come to the conclusion that maybe my kind of gaming is maybe I don't beat every game, but if I'm having fun, then it's okay. So, that's been what I've been playing lately.
All right.
And it's a good time.
Yeah, I generally had fun with Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's certainly the kind of game that I feel like you either get into it or you don't.
What did you think of the character design?
The character design, I liked it okay enough to kind of get through. I wasn't like crazy about it. I feel like most of them were generally just kind of a little bit too much generic anime characters.
Too generic.
Yeah, 'cause-
Yeah.
And like none of them were like terrible, but like none of them really stand out beyond being, generic anime characters.
This guy
Right.
is listing off 1,000,000 words a second.
Mm.
That NPC. Sorry, that was just a little footnote there.
Yeah, mostly what got me going through Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was really just the lore and the world building in the game was really just fascinating to find, because the idea of, all these, basically countries that had been founded on the backs of, these behemoth giant
Living
beasts.
creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah, that blew my mind when I
I was
figured
like,
that out.
dude, this is so awesome. And just a lot of the kind of history behind the world and what's going on in the politics of everything really gets pretty interesting. But so that's kind of what kept me going, was not so much the characters as it was just the history and all that kind of fun stuff.
Embarrassingly enough, it took me like probably too long to figure out that it was like a living creature.
Right?
Did not expect that.
I feel like this area is like really tiny and I have no idea where to go already. This game is terrible.
I don't think they do you a lot of favors on telling you where to go to.
Yeah. And there's
At
just
least you're
construction
fast.
everywhere. There's just these dudes in hats telling me I can't go there. Fuck you guys. Dickheads. And this guy. You're like the one character I've found so far that I can't talk to. Ah! I knocked down your newspaper.
Imagine if we all ran like Sonic.
Right. Just
kick yourself in the ass while you run.
He's like doing the Naruto run.
Yeah, the Naruto run. Or the
Naruto makes
Hyrule
you
Warriors run.
Yeah.
The Lana run.
Yeah.
Lana gets a little bit of a skip with it too.
Mm-hmm. All right. Kevin, what you been playing?
I've been playing the latest Path of Exile League,
Mm-hmm.
the Height League. I just got a character up to level 70. I have not played this game in a hot minute. It's been a good while, so it's been fun to like break back into that game.
Mm-hmm.
I also played through the Black Eagle's house in Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Nice. That is the correct house to play through.
Correct house. I picked a winner.
Yeah.
Oh man.
My
triggered.
choices for picking that house was just like, all right, eagles for the logo. Like, all right, they're not purple. Red's good enough. That was like my whole psyche behind picking the house. I could have picked
Right.
any of them. I was ready to flip.
I wasn't totally sure because, like, I sort of like started looking into the politics and the characters and everything, but I was like, at the end of the day, you got your leaders are two pretty boys or a chick with a giant axe, and I'm like, these pretty boys are not my type. It was like,
I didn't really do too much like investigating either.
I'm not sure how I got into this mini game. I talked to a guy. I thought I was picking up a side quest or something. Now I'm running through rings. What the fuck's going on? I didn't read
Kevin
the text.
distracted him.
I got you thinking about Fire Emblem Three
I blame
Houses.
Kevin.
You got me
Blame
thinking
Kevin.
about good games. What a douche. Damn it. Got some of
I
them.
don't think there's been too much
Well-
else that I've been playing through though.
Nice.
I don't know. I think
You
it's
were
good.
playing Overwatch.
I was playing Overwatch. Yeah, I played that. That was another game I had gotten back into. I was playing that on stream. That was a good time.
Who's your main?
Lucio.
Nice.
I love Lucio.
Hey, I apparently won.
Nice. You got the rings.
Yeah, I
job.
guess.
Proud of you.
I'll pat myself on the
Happy
back.
rings.
Crow, what you been playing?
Chiefly, I've been playing Risk of Rain a lot. Trying
Oh, yeah.
to 100% the second one. No, it's both fun and infuriating. You can lose at the drop of a hat.
Mm-hmm. That's
On the difficulties for sure, yeah.
sometimes I've had that kind of game design, and it can be very frustrating.
That and a little,
Ooh, I got a
Mario
D. I'm so
sprinkled in.
great.
Yeah, Risk of Rain 2 is pretty awesome. That's a game I have to get back into.
Nice.
I haven't heard of this game.
I think I might have told you about it once, very, very late at night.
Have you seen?
And never brought it up again.
Have you seen or played?
That sounds about right.
Binding of Isaac? Do you know that one?
I do know that game.
Yeah.
I don't have. I own it, and I've never played it.
It's very similar. Less, third-person shooter-y, but same principle. It's a roguelike indie. Fantastic.
Have you played Risk of Rain 1?
I have not. I own
It's
it on
actually
Switch.
pretty cool. Okay, yeah, it's only on PC, I think, or they might have it somewhere else too.
If you buy
3D
Risk of Rain
shooter,
2,
but it's 2D.
if you buy Risk of Rain 2 on any of the consoles, the first one comes with the game.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know it was on console. I played that game like way back. Risk of Rain 2 is a pretty faithful recreation of the first game, but in 3D. Just kind of awesome when you think about it.
They've definitely
They
done a
translated
fantastic
pretty well.
job.
Oh,
time.
yeah. I'm looking it up right now.
I think the boys would like.
Survival game.
Yeah. You can have up to 4 players, too. Which just makes it harder.
Can you do 4-player local though, or it's only 2-player local?
I'm not sure. I would assume you could do 4-player local.
That's the tricky thing that we kind of run into right now is having the ability to do a mix and match of a couple of have a few people local and then another person online or 2 people online. That way we can kind of pair up, but some games don't specify it, or they'll just say yep, we have multiplayer, and it's I don't know, what does that mean? Can you mix and match?
I would assume as long as you're both on separate PCs, then you're golden. For a while, I was living with 2 other people, and the 3 of us plus another guy out in Philly, we were able to all play together, no problem.
All right, good to know.
Oh, that's perfect. The graphics look beautiful.
Oh yeah, it's a
Yeah,
gorgeous
it's a
game.
wonderful game.
Does it look as good as Sonic 06?
No, nothing compares.
No,
Yeah,
nothing
no.
compares.
Close, but not quite.
I have to say, you're doing very well.
Am I?
I think so. Yeah, this
That
game
is
will.
high praise.
Yeah, this game will beat you up. I spend a lot of time not in. This
there's a
game.
robot.
Sonic
He's trying to
Adventure
kill me.
2.
Where the fuck did that guy come from? Is
This guy.
people trying to kill me now? I just teleported to a new
He was
world.
mad that you
I'm
blew
like,
up his
I'm used to
boxes.
teleporting to
Yeah.
new worlds in Mario 64, and most people are friendly, and even if they're not friendly, they're just walking around. They're not fucking robots trying to shoot the shit out of you. What the hell?
I love how Kevin just said you were doing good, and then you get murdered by a robot.
You've jinxed me.
Getting hit once in Sonic is okay. If you got a ring, you're good. Getting hit twice, not so fun.
Mhm.
Right.
Sonic's only as good as his last ring.
Sounds like football.
I always say when I'm
Patriots are
playing
only
Magic, the
after
only life that matters is the last one.
Oh,
All right.
That ring is good.
What did I just do?
I actually did play some Magic this past weekend too.
Nice.
It was a really good time. Played some Commander games.
Sweet.
Played some new decks.
All right, so shall we get into our News and Booze segment?
Hell
Bring on
yeah.
the news.
News
on
and
the
Booze
booze.
is always fun. So first we have to do a couple of things because Chris told me last week that he wouldn't be able to do the podcast this week, and I totally forgot about it until yesterday, and I was like, oh shit, I forgot to get guests. So luckily I got several of you at the last minute, but I was like, I really wanted people to come on because there's so much news is partially why I wanted people to come on. So I told everybody that for every one of you that comes on that I would take a shot. So I got to do my shots now. So Kevin, I got 10 cup whiskey for you.
All right, that sounds like me.
+1 for
Skip, you get Rebel
whoever
Stoke
else.
spiced whiskey. It's sweeter than I remember it. And Crow, you get Blade and Bow bourbon.
That was so sweet. Thank you.
And there was one guest that said he couldn't come,
Chips and
but
steak.
yeah, that was our good buddy Chips and Sticks. He's been on the podcast once before. So check out his YouTube channel. Look up Chips, CHIPZ, the letter N, STIX. Chips and Sticks. He's a cool guy and does unboxing videos and tips and tricks and gaming stuff in general. So he's an awesome guy, and he told me I could drink one for him anyway, even though he wasn't coming on. And I said, consider it drunk.
Cheers.
All right. Now I'm going to need a chaser, so my beer of the week this week is Left Hand Brewing Company, Galactic Cowboy, Nitro Imperial Stout. So Chris is often has the Left Hand Nitro Milk Stout on the podcast. It's one of his good go-tos. It's a good go-to beer around here because you can find it like just in the grocery store because that's how Colorado works now. So I'm super excited to try this. I have not had this one. I like most Nitro beers, and I love every Imperial Stout in the world. So, cheers to you. I got my badass Guinness glass, too.
Cheers.
Is it sacrilege to drink another stout out of a Guinness glass?
No, it's fine.
Only if you say it's better.
I'll give you the Irish pass.
I mean, there's a lot of stouts better than Guinness, but,
It's lunch.
I like Guinness because it's it's a good go-to that's available, at basically every place you go. Is nice thing about Guinness. But
It's
there's a lot of
relatively
better
cheap.
stouts out. Yeah, and it's pretty cheap. So, cheers.
It's different drinking a night.
Cheers.
Feels good.
So dark. Look at that color.
Super creamy. Obviously, because the nitro will do that. The texture is just super. Like I feel like I could just chug this right now, and that would be bad because it's like 9%, and I just took 4 shots. So, in like 15
Nope,
minutes,
that
when
was
all
a
that
bad
sets
choice.
in, we'll be talking about the news and booze, and it'll be fucking hilarious. I hope. Awesome beer, Kevin. What you drinking?
So I have a little bit left. I poured a hefty amount of gin in here. Some New Amsterdam gin.
All right.
With a little Diet Coke to mix that down.
Gin and Diet Coke. Wouldn't have thought of that.
It works. I kind of just like mad scientist a few things in, so there's like a little seltzer in here too.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not generally much of a gin guy, but every now and then I'll have one with something, and it's not too bad. Every now and then I'll have a gin I really like, but it's kind of few and far between.
Yeah, gin's a good time. I've been trying to break the beer habit a bit, and it's just nice. Less
Breaking
sugar,
it up
less
a little
calories.
bit.
Yeah, mix it up too. You get into
Apparently
the,
Sonic
cold
can't
end.
swim. Every time I have to die on stream, I take a drink. I think that's a fair rule, right? If you're
Sure.
drinking along at
That's
home, you
perfect.
can drink with us now.
Drink.
Skip, what you drinking?
Tonight I am drinking Seagram's Extra Dry Gin. This was the first drink that Kevin ever bought for me, and I'm drinking it tonight.
Top shelf gin.
Drinking it straight with a Zevia on the side, little chaser. It's good stuff. I think I've had too much already, but this is fine.
We gotta get you the good stuff here. We gotta get you that Drum Shambo gunpowder gin. That stuff is the best.
Well, you know, Kevin, when you buy me the cheap gin, it's what sticks. You
can
started
get.
me off on the cheap stuff.
That's fine.
I'm a cheap date. What can I say?
Nothing wrong with that.
I'll class you up with the top shelf.
You
gin.
started the bar off real low.
Nice.
You're smart.
You got to increment the gin.
Yeah.
You got to start from the bottom so that when you get the top shelf, that you appreciate where you started from.
Yeah.
For every Seagram's, there's Tanqueray.
I always have a soft spot for Seagram's.
Seagram's is actually, I mean, it's not like, you know, your house gin. It's a cheaper, it's an affordable gin, just like New Amsterdam, which I'm having now. But it's not bad. It's really not bad.
I think I prefer it over New Amsterdam, really.
Yeah. I mean, nothing beats the gunpowder, even though it's like it's a little lighter.
Mhm.
But it's good. There's
Nice.
like we've spoken about this where you have like you get like the cheapo stuff, but it really hits you better, right?
Yeah.
Like what was it, Ryan's whiskey?
Ryan's Irish cream. Irish.
Ah, shit.
Yeah.
I fell in a hole again.
As opposed to Bailey's.
It's like the better Bailey's is Ryan's.
Nice.
Yeah,
Bailey,
because
he's
you
gonna
can
lose
actually
to Sasha.
taste. You can actually taste.
What the fuck did I do?
The alcohol.
What did I do?
All right.
It's all
Nice.
glitched. I got
There you
stuck.
go.
What the
This is
shit?
Sonic after 4 shots. Let's just keep it.
I'm falling,
That's
I
what you
think. I
discovered, like, a
almost
perpetual
fell.
motion
Okay.
device there.
You're actually doing pretty good.
Sonic's been drinking tonight as well.
Yeah, come on. Go home, Sonic. You're drunk. Give me Sonic
It's a
Adventure in this
2006
shit.
vintage.
I don't have a capture card that can take in anything but HDMI, so...
Sonic, what have you been drinking?
Fuck. How do I can't
Water.
get off that island.
He's
Why
been
can't I
drinking
go
a
to
lot
that
of
island
water.
if I can't get off of it? What a dumb fucking island. Fuck you, island.
Can't you
Why is
do
it
like
low?
a dash attack?
I guess I ran out of lives. I think I have to drink again for that.
Yeah. Oh, you're back at the cutscene now.
We're all with you.
Oh, wait.
That's what's
Did it not
awesome
save
about
any of
it.
that? Do I have to start
doesn't.
all over? Fuck.
If you die, if you die at the beginning like this and you didn't hit a save point, right.
I had a checkpoint? Fuck
That's
you, game.
brutal.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
How embarrassing.
We're getting all.
And now I gotta
Oh.
skip like 3 cutscenes
Oh
just to
my
actually start playing, and then I gotta do the weird minigame again where the guy talks about my shoes.
Yes.
Wow.
Alright, well, this is an awkward moment, so let's use it to segue to Crow. What you drinking?
I'm drinking some Bailey's Irish Cream with little chocolate milk.
Ooh, we were just
Heck
talking bad shit about
yeah.
Bailey's.
I'm cheap.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, actually, Bailey's I don't mind too much. I found out I was out of Bailey's earlier today, and I was like, that's kind of lame. Okay, where's that dude? Wasn't he right here? Fuck that dude. Just move
The
around.
thing
somewhere.
about Bailey's is
Stupid
it's so sweet. Like you can't taste the alcohol.
Yeah.
Oh, first I have to talk to Tails in this cutscene that I have to skip. Yeah, fuck you,
Yeah.
Tails.
I've never been a big fan of like super alcohol tasting drinks. So
Mhm.
I
Sure.
like Bailey's and I like Long Island iced tea and Captain Morgan's
yeah.
things like that.
Right.
Long Island represent. That's where we're at right now.
Nice.
See, like my
We're famous
Irish
for
coffee. My Irish coffee is I just take whiskey and coffee and I just put it together.
I do that when I'm camping all the time. I'm just like, what kind of alcohol do we have? We got rum, whiskey. Just shove it in my coffee. Shut up.
Close
Like
enough.
Will
Good
Ferrell
enough.
from
Iced
Elf.
tea.
Like, love syrup.
Nice.
Love
All
syrup.
right. So what do y'all rate your drinks on a scale of 3 to 17? First, let me go first because I had a lot. So, tin cup rye whiskey, I'm going to give a 13 out of 17. It's not as good as the regular tin cup. Revelstoke spiced, I'm going to give a 14 out of 17. That is pretty good shit. Blade and Bow is 16 out of 17. This is my favorite fucking bourbon.
Damn.
And good old Jim Beam is just fine, 10 out of 17.
Good man.
And this Galactic Cowboy Nitro Imperial Stout, let me give it one more. Good go. Silky as hell. That is good. It's all in the mouthfeel, though. It doesn't have as much character as I kind of expect from an Imperial Stout, and I don't know if that's just because it's got the nitrogenation, because these left-hand big cans have like a widget in them, kind of like the big cans of Guinness, so it actually nitrogenates it right then. So I don't know if it's just the mouthfeel muddling whatever character would be there, but I feel like most Imperial Stouts that I have, generally I'm looking for that big malt and that really big hop flavor, just a kind of a lot of, punch in the fucking face kind of flavor. And I'm just not finding it here. It's a great mouthfeel, but that's about all I'm feeling. I'm going to give it a 13 on a scale of 3 to 17. Skip, you go first. What do you rate your drink?
I'm going to rate my drink a 12, which I think it's solid.
Yeah.
But there's room to grow.
Yeah.
Like I know there's better drinks out there. Mm-hmm. And TB12. 12 is very special to me. I'm a football fan, so nice. There you go.
Go Bucks.
Who's your favorite team and why is it the Broncos?
Hey, I respect the Broncos.
My favorite team is the Broncos because I live in Colorado and I just grew up believing that the Broncos were the only team worth paying attention to.
Hey, God bless you. I'm definitely
for the same reason
fan.
I keep woefully rooting for the Rockies every year and being disappointed 9 times out of 9.
Right now is not a good time to be a Colorado fan. None of our teams are doing good.
We started great. The Rockies started fucking great. We were on fire like we always are in April, and I was like, dude, it's not April and we're doing good. But it was basically April because the season started late, so it still was basically April. So, it went downhill fast, and I'm like, come on, guys, why you gotta be like that? Hey, I got it all in one go. I'm fucking great. You guys have to drink because of that, and I have to take a celebratory drink.
I'll drink to that.
All right, I'm apparently getting better at Sonic.
I don't know if that's good or not.
I think the booze is what makes this game playable. Let's see if you got higher.
Probably, right? Yeah. Let's see if I can beat the first level, unlock Knuckles, because...
That's just for spam.
Yeah. Knuckles was always my favorite out of the Sonic characters. I just like fucking, going up to shit and being like, I don't want to be fast, I'm gonna punch you. Fuck you.
Does the booze make this game watchable as well?
I don't know. Keep drinking until Sonic looks good.
Keep drinking, we'll find out.
This is like your sobriety test. When you think this looks fun, then you've had enough. Cut yourself off. All right. And I talked to this guy. Anyways, let's go into our news and booze. So our first topic for news today is Amazon has announced Luna, which is a new cloud streaming service. So it's going to be competing in the space with Google Stadia and the other guys. Xbox. Yeah. So this is kind of interesting, actually. I'm going to pause real quick so I can actually read this shit. It will launch on PC, Mac, Fire TV, iPhone, and iPad, which makes me very skeptical of Apple telling me that Xbox's app could not run on it because they didn't feel like testing everything, but they got another streaming service that does the exact same fucking thing. I'm on to you, Apple, you dickheads. I'm kidding. They're dickheads for tons of other reasons. You all know it. There's an Android version planned later after launch. What's interesting to me in this is that games sync to the Luna controller. So you're going to buy your controller. It's $50. That's not a bad buy-in, actually. And you get your controller, and your controller talks to the game on the internet in the cloud, and it's all on your controller. Is telling your TV what to display, or your PC, or whatever device you're on. And so if you want to move to a different device, it's still saved on the controller. It's not like on Xbox or Stadia where it's on your device. It's actually on the controller. So you can seamlessly, according to them, move from one device to another, which in Stadia, I haven't actually tried that on Xbox because cloud streaming is currently only available on Android, obviously. But at least for Stadia, like, you'd have to, like, get to a point and save and then quit and then go on your other device and try that way. Another interesting thing that they're doing is they're partnering with Ubisoft to bring a bunch of games, including Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Far Cry 6, and Immortals Phoenix Rising. The day they release will be released on this service. However, these things will be as an additional cost for the Ubisoft gaming channel. So you're going to pay, basically, they're doing an introductory price of $5.99 a month, and you get a bunch of games with that. And if you pay the extra price for the Ubisoft channel, then you get all the Ubisoft games day one. Just like if you're playing for, obviously, Xbox's Game Pass, you get all the Microsoft games day one. But this is like a specific, like, channel is what they're calling it. So it's like a TV channel. You know, you pay for HBO, you get all the HBO content when it airs. But with this, you get all the Ubisoft content when it becomes available. So I think it's an interesting idea, but I think, like, the idea of it is to have several channels of, like, your favorite developers and then get on that. And I feel like that could get expensive really quick, depending on the pricing model for it. Because they haven't announced what it's going to be, if it's going to be like $3.99 to add Ubisoft, $5.99 again to add Ubisoft. You know, even if it's $5 a month extra to add one channel, that could easily stack up real quick. And at that point, I think Xbox's kind of streaming service / Game Pass would be a better deal overall. But if you really care about these developers, then maybe it might be a better kind of release schedule. So what do you guys kind of think about that?
I think some of the unfortunate kind of like barrier to entry with some of these things is you look at, I'm starting to compare these like cloud gaming services to like a Netflix or a Hulu, where the barrier to entry is relatively easy. If you have a device, take a sip. If you have a device...
I have a device, I'll take a sip.
If you have a device, take a sip, everybody.
Oh shoot.
If you have a device that can, you know, play Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime Video or what have you, any number of streaming services, you have the device, you're good.
Why won't I catch the Trail of Rings like
What makes it more difficult is
don't understand what I did last time.
Is you have to have the hardware for this. So you have to have a controller, you have to have a console, you have to have something that allows you to, you know, tap into this application. When that sort of is like more removed, I could see that being easier sell for people. Whereas it's just like, hey, I paid like $5 to use all these games for like a month.
Yeah.
It's a new concept, relatively new concept. We could see Xbox Game Pass becoming the next Netflix for games, and I think that'd be great. Great for folks that want to do that. I love to own the physical games. Like, I'm sitting in front of all these awesome Genesis cartridges right here. That, like, I will be able to just throw in my Genesis or my Retron and be able to play whenever.
Yeah.
For the folks that don't want that kind of hassle, that's great. This is kind of that alternative for it. I think these kinds of things come down to the marketing and getting a good price point. If you can undercut the other guys and say, hey, look, like, you have an Xbox controller, if you pay a couple bucks a month, you can get like 150 games that you can play whenever you want. For some people, that's great. For me, man, that's daunting. I already have 150 games in front of me, and I don't have the time to play all of them, so to each their own.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where I kind of fall sort of in the middle, because I'm like you. I'm a very big physical collector. I collect like tons of physical games. Like, you know, anytime there's a special edition, I'm like, it comes with something cool, I have to get it. I got my Octopath Traveler special edition right here. I got my, you know, Zelda 3DS. I got my Link plushie. Fuck yeah. You know, I got all sorts of different stuff like this, and I'm just like, yes, give me the physical. But Xbox kind of convinced me this generation that, you know, even if I'm a physical collector, I can still like make use of Game Pass just because it's such a good deal.
If you're gonna keep dying, I need a refill.
Yeah, right. Although I'm not losing lives when I fall in the water here, I really have no idea what the fuck is going on with this stupid thing.
There's a button for like the light dash. I want to say it's B, but you have to be like precise on the first ring.
Because I feel like last time I skidded across the ring.
Did you get an item to get there?
You
only did the old man thing.
I thought
right?
I bought it. I did the thing, and then I went to this guy and I said, buy the item, right?
The guy who's like gesticulating like a madman.
Yeah, hey man, were you Italian or something?
He really wants
you to buy anything else?
Oh yeah, he doesn't let you buy this.
Sorry, but sold out everything. So did I
Passionate
buy
about
it if
his
they're sold
business.
out of it? Can I see my inventory? Is there an
You
inventory
might need
button?
to like trigger a cutscene to like come back and buy this. As dumb as that sounds.
Yeah, maybe I'll do the fucking mini game again or something. Where's that?
Talk to the two guys that are like casting a spell on each other. It's true. That's what it looks like.
All the people listening on Podbean, you're gonna be like, "What the fuck are they talking
what
about?"
are these guys talking about?
At this point, I think they've gotten used to it.
All right, yeah.
Oh,
All right, next piece of news and booze. Kirby Fighters 2 was leaked, announced, and released yesterday. It's $19.99 on eShop. It includes the new wrestler copy ability and new playable characters like Bandana Waddle Dee, Megalore, DDD, and Meta Knight. So I didn't actually play the first Kirby Fighters, but it sounded kind of interesting. It's like a Kirby fighting game. A lot of people are kind of giving it like parallels with Smash Brothers for gameplay style. It's kind of like a little bit platformy, but then you pick your Kirby with your different abilities. So any big Kirby fans out there going to check this out? Don't all speak up at once. Oh, I push X. Why am I going to the water? What the fuck, Sonic? Goddamn idiot. The
You have to
fuck?
drink for that.
Yeah,
I'll
we're all
drink twice
drinking
for that. Shit.
He figured it out and then threw himself in the ocean immediately.
Shit. I also kind of like to show off my cups, so these are all my waterfowl shot glasses that I have for some reason. So I got my ring-necked pheasant and black ducks and a couple other ones.
You don't know where these came from?
Well, my dad gave them to me one Christmas when I was like, I think he had come over another time, and I didn't have enough shot glasses because I just moved in. And then this was like several years later, and he was like, "You still don't have any shot glasses, right?" And I was like, "No, I have tons of them." And he's like, "Oh, well, I got these for you." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Thanks, Dad."
That's so thoughtful.
It is. How did I get in there? Go in the level, you fucking idiot.
I don't own a single shot glass, and like my go-to is whiskey and gin.
Skip is a drinker out of mugs.
I drink out of mugs. I'm drinking out of my Zelda mug right now.
Well, I'll drink to that.
Choice.
I've got plenty of shot
I keep
glasses
thinking
on
of
the
buying
website.
Zelda mugs. I have like a Zelda coffee thermos thingy, and that's all my Zelda mugs. And I'm like, I need more Zelda
You
mugs
need a
or
collection.
gaming
Everyone
mugs.
needs more Zelda mugs.
I mean, you got that Zelda Stein from GameStop that I showed you, didn't you?
I didn't. I looked at it and I
have a
was
Zelda
like,
sign.
I don't have $20 in my bank account. Damn it, Crow.
Mine was given to me,
I have two.
and I drink protein shakes out of it, of all things.
It works.
I'll have to
I have
post
some
a
special Zelda
photo
mugs.
on Discord.
All right.
Um,
Now I'm
for
doing
the two
better
of
in
us,
this
I
game.
picked up some crazy. They're like hand engraved Zelda mugs that have the Majora's Mask and the Hylian crest. For Skip.
I can just like fucking stand here.
That's Sonic.
But
He's
you
got magic
can't
too.
swim.
I just like stopped pushing the
Can't swim.
stick for a second, and he stopped, and I'm like, what the hell, Sonic? All right, next piece of news and booze. Cadence of Hyrule won the Canadian Game Award of the Year.
Hey!
I didn't know there was a Canadian Game
Whoa.
Award until, I forget, Zelda Universe or Zelda Dungeon or somebody was like, hey, Cadence of Hyrule won this. And I was like, there's a Canadian Zelda or a Canadian Game of the Year?
I didn't know there was a Canadian Game of the Year until you just said that.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Cadence of Hyrule, I think, is a game that is deserving of more awards than it's going to get. Particularly, I think the soundtrack is one of the most fucking killer soundtracks that there has ever been. So that's awesome. Anybody else love Cadence of Hyrule?
Oh, yeah.
I'm kidding,
Yeah,
everybody
we-
does, right? We're all Zelda
I
fans.
had an
Zelda
entire
fans here, right?
podcast episode about it.
Nice.
Nice.
Hey, you got it.
There we
Yeah,
go,
that
the
makes
rainbow
sense
ring.
now. I know to push
Did it.
X instead of A now, so, like, what the fuck? How do I do this?
A new obstacle.
A new challenger appears.
Cadence
Yeah.
of Hyrule has
How
a
did I
fire
just fall down?
soundtrack.
What actually just happened? I'm playing this game, and I'm like, it's like I'm watching, like, a speedrunner that is using glitches that I don't understand because they happen so fast, but it's not
That's just
speedrunning,
pain, man.
it's just shit.
Yeah.
How did I just stand on the wall? I just fucking
Yeah.
cling to the wall.
Shoes will do that.
Will they?
Honestly,
Will they, Kevin?
He's got the Reebok pumps.
Kevin, go
Pump it
home,
up
you
and
drunk.
wear it out. I already am. Both
Good.
of those things.
In that case, you are on the right fucking podcast, my friend. All right, Square announced Nier Replicant, which is a remake or remaster of the original Nier game. So this is kind of cool, because I was thinking about playing Nier Automata. How did I just die? I just attacked that guy like 6 times.
I think you like fell into his presence.
But anyways,
Or
yeah, I've been
tucked
like
in.
looking at Nier Automata because it's on Game Pass for not for PC but for streaming. So I'm like, I might stream that on my phone. That might be kind of interesting, but I don't know how intensive it is because I've got a kind of an old phone. So like I played, like I was saying earlier, I've played the Turing Test, and that's a little bit of a slower paced game, so that worked really, really well. But other games, like, oh god, there's a fucking orca following me.
Really?
I was
That
confused
would
as
start
shit
my-
just
that would've
because the
stopped my
camera
heart.
angle changed, and I was like, what just happened?
Some
Why are the
OG
camera
Sonic
angles keep
Adventure
changing? What the fuck?
What is it?
It
Okay.
just sent me on a path to death.
They ate you.
But yeah, I also tried Halo ODST, and that did not
Alright,
work
yeah.
quite as well.
Tough.
It
That's an
worked.
action
It worked
game.
fine, but it's like it was hard to get a lot of the precise movements. Like I'm trying. Normally in Halo, I'm like, okay, there's a grunt there. Just pull out my pistol, bam, bam. Get the grunts easy. It fucking did it again, partially because I was.
when that plank shoots you up, you gotta jump, and you're gonna do like your wild like hover boot, sticky boot jump from like that to like a rock to another one.
Okay.
Do you smell what the rock is cooking?
I did once. It was really awkward. Okay, I see what's
There you
going on
go.
here. We
Alright,
got some
let's
Final
do it.
Fantasy VII shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was I talking about? Square,
The
Nier.
Rock.
Anybody else play Nier?
I never played Nier.
What the fuck is Tails here for? How am I
You got your
Tails?
tails now.
How did that happen?
Sonic's busy.
Yeah.
I hope I can fly
Sonic's playing with
infinitely.
a whale.
I cannot fly infinitely. Shit. Okay, I'm gonna die.
And there was a game that came out.
What just
that
hit
I
me?
confused with Nier.
What just hit me? What
There's a lot of
actually?
things going on here?
Sorry, are you actually talking about the news? I'm still confused as shit.
I'm a little confused too, and I'm still thinking about Nier.
All right, so
There's
you
another
played
game
Nier?
that came out around the same time that I was like, it felt like it was the same game, but it really wasn't.
Huh?
It was like I confused Nier with another game with like robot android people.
Okay, huh?
And I couldn't tell you what it was.
That's funny. Yeah, all right. Anybody else got anything to say to that, or shall we move to our next piece of news and booze?
Yeah, I've never played Nier, so.
All right, so Sony announces Spider-Man Remastered, which is the original 2018 game, but remastered, coming to PS5. But it's only available in a bundle with Spider-Man Miles Morales for $70. So that's not like a bad price, but the fact that it's only available in the bundle is just a little weird. It's like, why aren't they selling it as a standalone game, is a lot of people's kind of qualm with it. I'm like, I don't care that much. Like, I liked Spider-Man, but I don't need to go out and buy a 4K version of it, right?
Sure. I think the interesting thing is there's no upgrade path and I don't feel like everyone's kind of doing this differently.
Yeah.
And some people seem like if you go to like Reddit and you look at like the comments from people or the threads that they're posting, people are like very quick to jump on like, how dare Sony not offer this as a free upgrade, or how dare Microsoft not offer this as a free upgrade, or like, you know, such and such developers doing a very scummy thing by doing this. I don't really know what the best answer is. Like, I'm kind of waiting on PlayStation or Xbox Series finale.
Yeah. I kind of ended up accidentally choosing the Xbox because I didn't get a PlayStation upgrade or a PlayStation pre-order when I tried because of the whole debacle where all the dealers like released the pre-order a day before they were supposed to. So I went in the day that they were supposed to start, and they didn't exist anymore. So I was like, I was a little bit screwed out of that. And at that point,
the beginning of the game.
I feel bad for the workers, like the the poor staff at those
let us all drink to poor Crow who works at GameStop.
Oh, Crow! I had no idea.
It's been a hellish week.
Staff having to manage all those servers too.
I am sorry.
But yeah, then I figured as long as I didn't get that, like after that, also another piece of our news and booze, which will come later, kind of convinced me that Xbox's Game Pass is even more of a good deal, and I decided, whatever, I'll try my luck at Xbox. And I actually had a really awkward time with GameStop's website trying to get one digitally first. I tried to do a pre-order on GameStop's website, and basically ended up like trying to pay via QuadPay, which is a third-party website that GameStop uses to basically split up your payments into 4 payments. And I was basically just going to put down the down payment and then pay it all off when I got paid, basically, because I had like enough for an Xbox Series S is what I was looking at. But when I got in on the website finally, it told me that the only thing that was I looked at the Xbox Series S, that was sold out. Xbox Series X was sold out, but Xbox Series S was available in a bundle for $500 with a 2-year Game Pass subscription and a headset. And I was like, okay, to get it day one, sure, I'll do that. But I didn't have enough in my account right at the time, so I decided, okay, I'll look at your QuadPay, and then I'll just pay it off right when I get payday, right? So that ended up this terrible debacle that the order didn't go through, but QuadPay put a hold on my money in my bank account, so now I have $130 that's just in limbo right now that I can't use because QuadPay has a hold on it, even though the order didn't go through. So that was kind of annoying. But then I just figured, fuck it, I'm gonna drive to GameStop and see if I could get one. And I drove up and I went into GameStop. I was like, hey, can I pre-order an Xbox? They're like, only the Series S. And I was like, that's the one I want, so fuck yes. So nice. I accidentally became an Xbox gamer.
All right, welcome to the
drink to that.
I'm amazed that you were able to get a Series S pre-order in, especially after all that, because at my store, the people, all of mine, the people who were going to pre-order it were there lined up in front of my store before I got there for work. To open the store. Sign. So
wow.
I've been at GameStop before the employees for a couple of events before, so sorry, Although I didn't get my one of the things I did was the Super Nintendo Classic, which I never ended up getting. Because I ended up sitting in line there, and it was such crazy shit too. Because I got there at 5 a.m. You guys opened at 10, and it was really kind of just a sad mishap. How did I just teleport inside this thing? What the fuck?
There you go.
But yeah, I was.
That looks like a B rank to me.
Right. But yeah, so I got there at 5 a.m. and there was already like a pretty big line, and it ended up that there were 12 Super Nintendo Classic systems, and I was number 13 in line. I was like, really? And I was really kind of mad too, because one of there was a group there that was clearly a family with a mom and a dad and 2 kids, and each one of them bought one. And I was like, why do you let them do that? They are clearly a family, and you're letting... It's like, I kind of get it, and I kind of was really pissed. So it was like a shitty situation.
Oh, lucky number 13.
Yeah. Anyways, let's go to our next piece of news and booze. Is The Last of Us Twitter announced that they changed their annual fan celebration, which is September 26th, which is tomorrow, which the past several years they've been calling Outbreak Day. They decided that that was no longer culturally appropriate because of actual real-life circumstances, and so they have renamed it The Last of Us Day, and they teased exciting things to come. And today they announced that that means there's crap loads of new merch, and the old merch will be heavily discounted, and there's a free PS4 theme. So,
all right,
it's kind of neat. I like all the merch looks really good, and I'm just like, I want it, but like the ones that I want are like the really badass like first 4 figures style statues, and I'm like, I really want to be a collector of those, but my kids would fucking destroy them.
Yep.
Hear, hear.
And they're just really expensive too, and I'm just like, I don't want to spend the money. Is part of it, which is
the best quality though.
They are, but that's kind of why I ended up being an amiibo collector. Is that amiibos are like okay quality and really small and only $12, so I'm not like totally fucking myself every time I buy one, you know. So
speaking of, you gonna get the Joker and Hero amiibos on Friday?
Joker one?
Yeah, for Smash.
Joker?
Oh.
Yeah, Joker for Persona. His amiibos arrived in stores today, and they look gorgeous.
I've seen all the images. I'm not really a big Persona guy, and I'm not really a big Dragon Quest guy. So neither of them probably are gonna be for me. But I'm
Pop in, give it a look.
They're not bad. Yeah, I don't have anything against the series. I've never played a Persona game. I've always kind of eyed it from the side and been like, I should get into you one of these days. And Dragon Quest, I was kind of the same until Dragon Quest 11S had a Switch demo. There was a demo version for the Switch, and it said, hey, here's our demo. It's the first 10 hours of the game. And I was like, dude, that's crazy. A 10-hour demo? Okay, I'll try that. And I fell in a hole. Fuck. But I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot.
You fell in a hole in Dragon Quest?
I probably did. Shit.
This, I have to say, this part, like, I don't understand, like, the dexterity and, like, what you're doing with your hands for this. But I have to say, it looks hard. It looks really hard.
It feels like it shouldn't be hard, but then sometimes I get the bullshit like what just happened.
You're like a surf ninja.
But yeah, I really just was bored as hell through I played like 6 hours, I think, of the Dragon Quest demo for Dragon Quest 11S, and I was just done. I missed the thing. I'm going to just stand here on the roof.
Okay. I would be remiss for us to pass over this topic without pointing out that Skip has been reading the Persona manga.
Ooh.
I have Persona 5 manga. Is
I do
excellent.
have a really odd Persona collectible, which is
see
this Persona 5. This was a pre-Persona 5 release piece
Right
of
on hand,
advertisement for the game that was at E3 2016.
Oh, cool. 16.
And one of the guys that worked at the Persona E3 booth put this up on eBay with the Legend of Zelda lanyard that all of the media staff got and all of the E3 staff got that year. And really, I was just buying the lanyard, and it happened to come with this as well. And I was like, okay, cool, that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just a random piece of Persona 5 memorabilia. And I've never played the game.
Here's what I found on the web.
When
You gotta get to playing the game. We'll get you there, Skip.
I don't have the hardware for it right now, but I do want to play it. When did those amiibos come out, Crow?
They come out this Friday, if I remember right. Maybe it's next Friday. It's
So it's
the
in a week?
second, I want to say.
Oh, okay.
So this coming
Okay.
Friday.
Let's keep our eye on that. That's a good thing to note.
You'll have to
That's
check your
favorite
local
Smash Bros.
GameStop.
Character, right, Skip?
What was that?
That's your favorite Smash Bros. Character.
It's one of my favorites. Yeah, I'm a big Joker fan.
He's
Besides
top
Link,
5
of
for me.
I
course.
played Joker. He seems interesting, but he's really technical, and I'm more of the kind of Smash player that's just like, I want to punch shit. I want to hit
Donkey
shit
Kong.
with a big sword.
Donkey
So
Kong.
my mains are Ike and Min Min. I've been having
okay.
shitloads of fun with Min Min since she came out. Like, I didn't know
I've
that
not played
another
this yet.
character would ever come and rival Ike as my main, but Min Min is definitely there. I'm like, oh my god, Min Min is so fucking fun.
Still haven't
I'm
tried
all
it.
about Wario. And
I'm
Diddy
a-
Kong.
I'm a Cloud main myself.
Okay.
Cloud and Ganondorf my top 2.
Kevin
I play
Kevin
Ganondorf
my
pretty
least-
often too, because he's another just really good, just I hit you really fucking hard kind of character.
He's BA. Yeah, Yanni's BA. Kevin mains all like the characters that I just loathe. Like the
Oh my god.
trolliest,
So great.
the
Do you play Game
trolliest
& Watch?
characters.
I could play. So the problem with me in Super Smash Bros. Is that I can play every character.
Yeah.
I can play every character pretty well. I don't want to like brag on this podcast, but I play
Sure.
every character pretty well.
Right.
The characters that I play like of my level like of exceptional gameplay is like Wario, Diddy Kong, Jigglypuff, Roy, Robin, and there's probably a 6th or a 7th in there. Like a very high level. But
At least
man, do I play the characters that will just make Skip mad. Like
At least
Isabelle.
At least Game & Watch isn't on the list. I detest Game & Watch.
I love Mr. Game & Watch. Mr. Game & Watch is such a meme with my friends. Like, my buddy Big N would play Mr. Game & Watch, and, like, he would only play Mr. Game & Watch. In Super Smash Bros. Brawl, we played a crap ton of Brawl. And he was, like, untenable, unstoppable. Like, he would just... He'd squeak
was
wins in
cutscene.
out of nowhere. It was great.
Nice.
For me and my friends, it was Olimar. I got a...
Olimar was real tough in Brawl.
I remember Olimar
I
in Brawl being just really annoying when he got his final smash, because, like, first of all, I had, like, at that
Yeah.
point never played a Pikmin game, so I didn't understand what the fuck was going on, and also it literally, you can't dodge it, and it just does a fuckload of damage in Brawl. It was a really broken...
undodgeable.
There was a handful of final
Brawl had
smashes
very
in
bad
Brawl
final
that were just too powerful. It was like, fuck you guys.
And some that kind of stunk too. Like Mario's was a bit underwhelming. Donkey
Yeah.
Kong's was Donkey Kong's was a joke, depending on the map. It was all
Yeah, if you're on a big map, it's like, okay, just move this way. Bye, Donkey Kong. Sorry.
yeah.
On a small map, sometimes it would be pretty good, but if you timed it right you could it still kind of had that directional thing, so you could kind of watch where it was going to be next, and so usually Donkey Kong's was
far
minimal.
away, and that didn't work well. Like you wanted characters in close that you could just blast them. You would brawl them.
All right.
We Fit Trainer's pretty trolly too.
That's one I don't play as much, but yeah, you're right.
Every time I accident, like sometimes I'll just like hit random if I'm in a party of friends or something, and I'll get Wii Fit Trainer, and I'll just spam that crotch laser just because it's fucking hilarious to shoot a laser from your crotch. I'm like, I don't understand what's going on, but I'm gonna shoot you with this laser from my crotch. Boom.
My friend's troll character is Sonic. It's just too fast to hit.
Back in Brawl, Chris, who's the co-host of Drink to the Past, normally is on here. Back in Brawl, he would play Sonic a lot, and he would literally just run away the entire time until he found a Smash Ball, and then he would fucking kill everybody because Sonic's Final Smash was one of those that I was talking about earlier. That's just like, it's just fucking stupid. It's just like too good. So, Chris, if you're listening, fuck you.
He sounds very wise.
All right, let's get to our last piece of news and booze. This is maybe the biggest thing of the week. Microsoft announced on Monday that they acquired ZeniMax in a $7.5 billion deal, and that includes all of ZeniMax's like lower tier businesses, including Bethesda Softworks. So, according to Phil Spencer, we will be adding Bethesda's iconic franchises to Xbox Game Pass for console and PC. And the first one has also been announced since then. Doom Eternal will be on Game Pass for Xbox One starting October 1st, which is just kind of crazy, and it'll come to PC later this year. Just this entire thing is a little bit crazy. One other note here is that they have announced that Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, which were both announced as PlayStation timed exclusives, will be released as planned as PlayStation timed exclusives, and future titles will be reviewed case by case. So I think that's kind of decent, to give them that, chance on PlayStation, because, technically they own the rights now. There's probably some paperwork involved, maybe there would be some money involved, but I feel like because they own the company now, they could be like, nope, it's releasing on Xbox at the same fucking time. If they really wanted to, I'm sure they could make it happen. So I think it's kind of cool that they're still being like, okay, these things were promised as PlayStation exclusives, they're still releasing as PlayStation exclusives. But in general, what's your take that Bethesda games are going to be part of Game Pass, and by even further extent, Microsoft is going to own the rights to Bethesda games?
I have a hot take here.
Go ahead.
I got two hot takes. First
That's
hot
hot.
take. You have Bethesda and you have Obsidian owned by Microsoft now. Both studios owned. Are we going to see something in Fallout? Are we going to see something with Fallout New Vegas?
We can only hope.
An Obsidian game worked on with Bethesda using that engine? I would love to see Obsidian take the reins on that if they're done working on like a Pillars game or Baldur's Gate or something like that. Now, the second hot take here is you have the agreement with Microsoft and EA, adding in EA titles into Game Pass.
Yeah.
Now that you have like the perfect soup of EA, which includes BioWare, and Microsoft owning Obsidian and Bethesda now, can we get like can we just mash a few minds together and a few IPs and legal tape to get a Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 3? Not a SWTOR MMO. KOTOR 3.
I'm fucking on board.
Give me the Obsidian guys doing KOTOR too. Like not so much the BioWare guys.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Star Wars. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I didn't even really think of that, but yeah, you're totally right. And I really loved the original Knights of the Old Republic. Knights of the Old Republic 2, I just didn't really get into very much, because the first level I got really stuck in for some reason.
Oh, Paragus sucks.
I don't even know what that is. The first
Paragus
level...
mining facility. That's it.
Okay, yeah, the first level, you, like, are the droid, and you're just running around.
Oh, that's the tutorial.
Yeah, I never got out of there.
Oh, you could skip it.
Oh my god.
Stupidest shit I've ever heard.
Really?
Oh my god.
I'm such a fucking idiot, apparently.
You got a drink?
I will drink to that shit. Because, yeah, all I remember of KOTOR 2 is wandering around for what seemed like an eternity in the body of this little droid and being like, what the fuck am I doing? Where the fuck am I supposed to go? Just like
not so bad.
madly swearing at my Xbox, being like, dude, what the shit? Why am I
there for anyone that has never played a KOTOR game and had like no clue on how to play like D&D or like how roles or anything worked.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure if you went back and played it now, you would be like, all right, skip, and then play Paragus. And Paragus is like, it's the first area of KOTOR 2, and I remember it being an absolute chore.
Mm-hmm.
But looking back at it now, it's pretty easy as an introductory area if you look at it from like a D&D one-shot.
Okay.
And
it's funny because actually that's
like
one of KOTOR is one of the things that a little bit got me into D&D, because I was explained that, oh, hey, this works on the Star Wars D20 system, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, even though I really never paid attention to what was going on behind the scenes, and I literally just built my entire character so that I could spam one button and fuck everybody.
That's KOTOR.
Yeah. And I was fine with that.
I got into D&D way after playing KOTOR. Like, I had played KOTOR and KOTOR 2, like, at this point, like, probably, like, 7 or so times for each game. And
Nice.
I've since played them over a dozen more. And I didn't really even understand that it was D&D. Like, you're making rolls and you're making checks based on, like, your statistics.
Yeah.
You have off-band penalties.
Yeah, it's funny because now, like, looking back at it, I'm like, oh yeah, all that was D&D. But at the time, it like was just totally over my head. I was just like, yeah, okay, this does more damage than the other thing, okay, and this means I get more attacks. That's how I do it. I like how my favorite thing was, as a D&D nerd, understanding what they did is they made Flurry of Blows, which is a monk ability, into a feat that you could just, like, put into, like, in your feat tree. You could just buy into at certain levels. And then I had 2 lightsabers, and it somehow worked with both of my lightsabers. So my character was built around Flurry of Blows with 2 lightsabers, where I would just, just swipe. At the end of the game, I was just like, 1 Flurry of Blows will kill almost anything because I'm hitting it with a lightsaber 8 times in the span of 6 seconds. And it was just insane how much damage I dealt. And I didn't even realize how great a build it was until I, like, became a D&D nerd. And I was just like, is that what I was doing? Who the fuck, what dungeon master would let you do that? What a dumbass!
It is such a good build.
The real question is, what color were your lightsabers?
Red.
Purple.
I was a fucking dark side dude. I was fucking like, every person I could kill, I fucking murdered them.
I mean, you can learn so much just by asking someone what color their lightsaber is.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've played KOTOR and KOTOR 2 to the point where I've had, I've played as light side male, light side female, dark side male, dark side female across all games, and then got to the point where I played Consular, I played Sentinel, there's a third one in there, I don't quite know what it is. Guardian. And then, like, rebalance those to, like, the second stages in KOTOR 2, and, I was like, F it. I have Jedi abilities. I want to see how far I could get without using a lightsaber, and it's viable. You can just use dual pistols, which I did, or you can use two-handed like laser rifle, and it works, and it balances out with force powers too.
Yeah. Like, it depends on how your build is, and I guess it kind of depends on how your party is, because my build was all about, I'm the damage dealer, and the other two guys are also the damage dealer. Because in my party, at all times I could possibly have them, I had Canderous and HK-47, and so I'd go up and I'd tank some hits, and I'd, like, just deal out some massive damage, and then they'd finish off whatever I didn't kill, because they dealt shitloads of damage themselves.
Canderous did too, and he had the healing factor, which was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Pretty unique to him too. For Mandalore.
Yeah.
And what timeless games? We need to Microsoft get on that. KOTOR 3.
Please. I will. I would say I would pay a full $60, but I probably wouldn't, because you'd put it on Game Pass.
I'd pay $60.
I would pay $60, but if it was on Game Pass, then I wouldn't, because that's how Game Pass works. All right, shall we get into our video game topic for today?
Hell yeah.
All right, video game topic for today is console exclusives. That's the entire topic, because there's, like, I feel like just that is enough to get us a conversation started, and we could probably springboard off of that somehow. So, console exclusives, what do you guys think of them? Are they, like, a good thing, a bad thing, somewhere in the middle? Do they have their hit and miss, their moments? Crow, we haven't heard from you in a sec. Oh,
as a concept, they're good, because, I mean, that's what drives people to buy the hardware. Otherwise, if you don't have exclusives, what's the point? There's not a huge difference between PlayStation and Xbox.
Yeah. Especially in generations now. Like, at some point, there was a pretty decent difference between, like, a GameCube and or especially, like, a Wii and, like, Xbox 360 in that generation. There was a ton of potential difference.
Like, obviously, if you get a difference in hardware, like the Wii versus the 360, or even now the Switch versus, PS4 and Xbox One, that in and of itself is a good way to justify different purchases. But whenever someone asks me, should I get a PlayStation or an Xbox for myself or my kid or whoever, I always tell them, like, look at the games and decide which one you think you'll get the more, mileage out of. To which the answer is most oftentimes PlayStation, just because they have a lot more options, and a lot of times, at least in my mind, a lot better options.
Yeah.
I'll pick Horizon Zero Dawn over a lot of Xbox exclusive games. Halo not included. Like, I love Halo.
Yeah, that's kind of my problem with the Xbox One generation, though, is I was like, well, Xbox has Halo, and I fucking love Halo, but they've also got nothing. Nothing else. That is it.
Sea of Thieves and State of Decay.
That is always the one game with Xbox. Like, I hear everyone say that. Everyone says the same thing. They have Halo.
Halo, and to a lesser extent, like Gears of War.
Yeah, I liked the Gears of War games back in the day, but, like, now I've just kind of been out of it for long enough that I'm like, they're not as big a deal as Halo. I would love to get back into Halo, and I'll think about getting back into Gears of War, is kind of how I would put it.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a
little harder now. Like, Microsoft is becoming more of, like, here's your Xbox platform, less so of, like, here's your Xbox, and, like, you can play Halo on Xbox.
Yeah.
Because now you can play Halo on PC. And if you have Windows 10, like, that's considered in, like, the realm of your Xbox platform. So it kind of blurs the lines, which makes Xbox and Microsoft in general, like, a more easier thing to buy into. Like you said, Mr. Spam, buying into a Game Pass is a lot easier because you could buy it on PC. You can play games on PC. Whereas with Sony, it's a little different.
Fuck
That
you,
whale
Orca.
just trolled the heck out of you.
Fuck you, Orca.
It makes it an easier sell, I think, to have Microsoft, where they're a big player in a lot of things like that I know, and I also work in IT, where I understand like the way that Microsoft is sort of trending.
Yeah.
They're working more on like including a lot of applications into a very impressive software suite and snatching at companies left and right to sort of enhance that with Microsoft Office 365, and now with Xbox Game Pass. Whereas with Sony, like they rule the world in Japan, but not so much from the software side.
Yeah.
There's other big players that are there, and that's great. But I see Microsoft in terms of like, if you want to play the most games, Microsoft seems like a good place to go. Now, for me, the games that I want to play are mostly on Nintendo systems, which I feel like we've kind of just been comparing apples and blowtorches here with PlayStation versus Xbox. Nintendo is my jam. I'm playing a lot of Nintendo stuff.
Yeah.
I think you're among friends with that.
I think there's a lot of incredible exclusivity that's just going to exist on a Nintendo console, and that's something that's going to be very palatable for people to look at and be like, I want to play Fire Emblem, I want to play Mario, I want to play Zelda. I grew up with all those games, I love all those, I want to play those games. It's almost a necessity that you have to own a Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a charm.
Yeah, that's a funny
I
thing
feel
about
like-
the Switch for me, particularly, is that I actually bought a Wii U because I knew eventually a Zelda game would come out for it, and then Breath of the Wild came out, and I didn't buy a Wii U. Sorry, go ahead, Skip.
Oh, I mean that was about it. There's a certain charm to Nintendo games that I feel like Microsoft and Sony just can't touch. Like what Kevin was touching on. Like, we grew up with these games. There's a certain point where I feel like there's like a quirkiness. There's a character to a lot of Nintendo games, whereas I feel like Microsoft and Sony don't paint outside the lines enough.
Yeah.
Like, where's that killer app? Like, is it Halo? Is Halo still the king? Or can I just play like what everyone else is playing, which is like maybe like Call of Duty or like Madden?
Yeah. To an extent, I think because of how many of these studios they've bought up recently, I think that that Microsoft will get to that point within this generation, but I don't think they're there yet. Because for me, a really big game is going to be Hellblade 2, because I got Hellblade because I was kind of interested in it, and then it was literally the first game I played when I started Game Pass for PC, because I was like, it sounds kind of cool. I don't know really a lot of what it's about, but I know the aesthetic is cool. It's got something to do with Celtic and Norse mythology, and that just sounded like it was in my wheelhouse. And I was like, okay, let's fucking try it out. And it is honestly one of the most insane out-of-body experiences I've ever had. It's not so much a game as it is an experience.
It's psychological experience.
Yeah, you are like a new person.
You're going nuts.
Yeah, you're just going fucking insane the entire time. And it's like
literally, like, that is what your character is going insane.
Yeah, you're going through this.
Schizophrenic.
Yeah, you're going through this whole thing, and you know, after I beat it, I watched the little video that they made within the game for it, and it was like, yeah, we wanted this game to really be a representation to a quote-unquote normal person of what it is like to experience psychosis and these kind of just absolutely batshit episodes that people with psychosis suffer from. And I was like, that is literally what I felt. And it's such an insane just like piece of art that I feel Hellblade is one of the most important games of all time. And if there is a game this generation that has changed the landscape of gaming for better, we don't know it yet, but it's fucking Hellblade. What the fuck? Did you just see that?
I don't know if you died or you went back to
I
Sonic.
have no idea, but I'm back at the checkpoint where I'm Sonic now.
That was a
Talk
very
about
quick loading.
What
psychosis.
the actual shit just happened?
I
Did
think
you
you
rewind
died.
time? Like,
You don't run out of
did your
time.
timer
The
run
timer
out?
counts up.
Oh, yeah. Maybe just Tails had enough of your shit.
Fuck Tails, that dickhead. I have to drink
Oh
for
my
whatever the
God.
fuck that was.
I will say, I think in the world of video games, I think you can get pretty far
Cutscene makes me
in
so
today's
sick.
world with a Nintendo Switch and a beefy enough PC, and if you know what you're doing on there.
Yeah.
I think with those two, you can thrive pretty.
Or if
pretty
you have a boyfriend who knows what he's doing.
If you have a boyfriend that downloads a Steam account onto your surprisingly beefy PC without me having to do many upgrades for you,
Heck
yeah, then
yeah.
you're great.
Yeah.
Then the
Yeah.
boys can play a better Sonic game, like Sonic
Hey,
World.
are you fucking bashing Sonic 06 here while I'm actually playing it?
This is the pinnacle of
He,
gaming.
he has the audacity.
For a hot second, I thought you were gonna say if you were thinking of a game that's the pinnacle of the last generation of video games, it's this. This
Check
is
it out.
Right here.
This is the
2006,
shit.
man.
Say-
The 90s will always be 10 years ago.
so
Right.
we're talking about the
I was just thinking.
important games to gaming. This is the king.
Mhm.
King of Sonic right here.
I like how the camera angle just like completely changes whenever I use that bomb, so I can't see what the fuck it hit.
Yeah, half the game is fighting the camera.
The other half is fighting you.
I thought it was
Yeah.
bad enough in fucking Mario 64. This is like what the fuck
Mario
did I just throw?
64's camera is a little rough, but
Oh,
I
hey.
found that if you
What is
swap
going
the
on?
Mario
Why is this
camera,
gate closing?
It's locking that Orca away.
Oh, did I get to
think.
whatever
don't
I
know.
was supposed to
Yeah,
find?
There you go. Oh, it is. Now Sonic's back.
Did any of your kids play any of the Mario games?
Yeah, my kids have played. My 4-year-old has played a little bit of Mario 64 and just jumped around and explored a bit, and that's been fun. And my 6-year-old has played a bit of Mario Galaxy, which has been kind of cool to watch him because I haven't touched Mario Galaxy on the collection yet. But I've been kind of looking at it, and I feel like I'm gonna have more fun with Mario Galaxy than I have so far with the other two. Because Mario 64 is something I have no nostalgia for, and so because of that, I feel like I don't have, time to put up with its bullshit, and I'm just like, this is, like, not as good a game as people think it is. Like, I'm playing
you
it,
need
and I'm
nostalgia
just like,
for
this
that.
is, like, meh.
You don't have those.
What did this do
nostalgia
for
ones.
gaming that Ocarina of Time did not do 8,000 times better?
Yeah.
Well, I think
Why does
those
this
two
get
games
the
go
all
hand
of
in
the,
hand.
I mean, it was Ocarina 1.0, and Ocarina of Time was Ocarina 2.0.
right?
It
But
was the beta for Ocarina.
Yeah.
to an extent, I feel like that might be true, but like, there's
No, it is.
literally
It
nothing.
literally is with the code and programming. It is.
Yeah, but there's
They-
literally nothing I feel that this added to the world of 3D gaming, because there were 3D games before and contemporary to Mario 64, and I feel like they all sort of suffered from the same problems.
Well,
We
what
can
about the
agree-
baby? What about the baby penguin?
You know
Whiny
what?
little
I'm
shits
going through
aside.
that level, and I'm like, I'm not totally sure what did I just do? Did I just clip through the
You
wall?
just did some like really cool breakdancing.
You just
Yeah.
really.
Gave Sonic some
You died
minor
so
brain
hard.
trauma.
Yeah.
There, as someone who's played a lot of like what the N64 and less so PlayStation,
Bye.
games, that was dope right there.
Mhm.
More so on like the Nintendo side, but less on the PlayStation side. In terms of games that were really like the first quality 3D platformer, Mario 64 really, truly is that.
I guess maybe if you're into platformers. I'm just not really as much of a platformer person anyway, I guess, is maybe part of my
Sure.
problem. But
So-
at the
It's
same
defined
time,
on 3D
like, people
platformers.
don't talk about it as one of the greatest platformers of all time. They talk about it as one of the most iconic, one of the most groundbreaking games of all time. And I just don't see that. I see maybe for 3D platformers, but
Yeah,
for
that's
gaming
fair.
in
It's
general,
pretty good, though.
I don't
Think-
see what it did for gaming.
Think about it. Think about it this way. Like we were joking about how it's Ocarina 1.0, but in fact, like it very much did lay the groundwork for Ocarina. While it didn't do it as well as Ocarina did, it did still set the groundwork for open world games in limited fashion. Limited camera controls, 3D
Or for
space
N64,
navigation.
Hub World, right?
Yeah, it had a hub world, which is a common thing that you'll see in a lot
My
of
problem
games.
with that is that the
Um,
camera controls fucking suck.
Yes, that's why I said in a
Yeah.
limited fashion.
But it's like
Um,
1999, dude. Like, there was no camera controls. Go play Bubsy.
as well
Bubsy
as like
3D on PlayStation 1 and come back.
it was one of the first games that lets you do stuff like in your own choice of order. It wasn't a linear game.
Yeah,
So
that
you
is
could do
one thing
stuff-
that I do kind of like about it, because, like, all these years later, I'm, like, one of the few people defending Breath of the Wild's story for being so fucking good, because it didn't do
That
the
is
same
pretty
thing
great.
every other open world game does, where it's like, you're in an open world. The world is open, but you're going through the story the exact same way as everybody else. You're going from point A to B to C to D to E, wherever, until you get to the end of the story, and that is just how the story works. And
Also,
Breath of the
I'm
Wild,
also one
like,
of those
kicks that in the
rare
dick, and it's
people-
just like, no, I'm gonna go wherever the fuck I want, and that's where the story's gonna be. Fuck you.
Yeah, I've always defended Breath of the Wild story. That was
But I think-
that was a hard line they had to walk there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
think
I'm a huge fan of. It's not so much like, and I'm gonna go like developer interview here, but the story really is like the world and how you interact with it. I do like a lot of the characters in Breath of the Wild, especially like the Rito and the Zora. I mean the Goron and Gerudo too. Like they're all involved in this world, but it's more so of like how this world is and just kind of like what the people here are dealing with. I think Breath of the Wild does that pretty well.
Yeah.
Then you could go bowling, and I mean,
Yeah.
forget about saving the world. You could just go bowling. It's great.
But the main point I was trying to drive is we can acknowledge that Mario 64 did a lot for gaming in terms of setting a basis and setting the groundwork for stuff, while also being an objectively kind of garbage game.
That's maybe how I kind of see it, because I feel like the basis for Ocarina of Time was not set by Mario 64, because Mario 64 introduced some of the mechanics into the 3D world, which then they figured out that these mechanics were shit, and they had to fix them for Ocarina of Time.
Well, exactly.
And that's why Ocarina of Time, I feel like, is the most influential game of all time, if it's not the original Legend of Zelda. But
Well,
we could
that's
get
the
into that another
point.
time.
Yeah,
But
But Mario 64 is the shit behind Ocarina of Time.
Sometimes you got to take
Maybe.
a bad shit before you
But
can take a better shit.
at that point, like, Ocarina of Time just fixed all the problems that 3D games had in general.
Yeah.
Not just Mario
No,
64,
not really.
but every 3D game. I don't think that there's a 3D game before Ocarina of Time that didn't have a problem that Ocarina of Time fixed.
Okay, I could dig that.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything with it.
Yeah, but the
Firefox
base
64.
groundwork that was laid for Ocarina of Time, that was the fundamental ideal of how Ocarina of Time would work as a game, was not in Mario 64, in my opinion. It was in A Link to the Past. A Link to the Past pretty much gives you the idea of, okay, here's your world, go to the dungeons, do dungeon stuff, come out, beat the main bad guy. And that's what Ocarina of Time does, almost to a T, but it took those concepts and it applied them to a 3D world. In the same vein, you could argue that you take Super Mario World, which is my favorite Mario game, and that went to Mario 64. It did the same kind of things. Here are your worlds, you explore them, you go to the end of them, and then eventually you fight the bad guy. And it did a little differently, obviously. It did more, you had to collect more stuff before you got to the final bad guy, and you didn't have to go through it wasn't as linear, obviously. But it was still taking the base platformer concepts of, the difficulty is in navigating the terrain of the environment. So it took that, but it put it into a 3D space, and in my opinion, it just didn't work where Ocarina of Time took it, and it did. It just was like, how do we make all this work? And they made it work.
Because they played with Mario 64 first, and they figured out all the ways they went wrong in Mario 64 for Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget, the initial groundwork for Ocarina, it was going to be, all taking place in Ganon's castle as a hub world, just like Mario 64.
Yeah, and then they fixed that, because that was dumb.
Yes.
I win!
This is the point that I was trying to get at. I'm not just, refuting that, Zelda is better and did more for 3D gaming, just that Mario 64 started the trend. They laid the groundwork for Ocarina to really.
But why Mario 64 and why not any other 3D game before that?
I mean, it could have been the other way around. It could have been Ocarina of Time came first and been the shit, and then Mario 64 could have been amazing.
Yeah. You're talking also about an era of N64 and PlayStation 1 where the types of games that existed were radically different than the games that we're playing today. We don't have polished gems like Sonic 2006. All right, that didn't exist way back. We're talking 64 here.
We'll never get there again.
we did not have these games. Programming and building games for Nintendo 64 versus PlayStation 1 were completely different things. So if you try to find something that's comparable to Super Mario 64 for a PlayStation console, I think the closest you can find is Crash Bandicoot. But even then, they're completely different games.
That's true, but Crash Bandicoot also came out in 1996, I believe. So why is Crash Bandicoot not held to the same standard that Mario 64 is?
Because Mario 64 kicked ass and it took names.
Did Crash Bandicoot not?
Crash Bandicoot did.
I think when it comes to
I didn't play a lot of Crash, but I played enough of it that I was on board with Crash. I was like, this is fun.
Had a lot of there's a lot of very quality 3D platformers that if you play them now, you will say, man, these suck. If you go back and you look at, and Crash doesn't even fall into that. It's a bit more of a different game. It's like a 3D platformer, but the level structure is very different. If you talk you got 3D platformers that are like the collectathon ones. You got your Banjo, you got your Spyro, Banjo-Tooie, even Conker falls into this with the gun related stuff. Donkey Kong 64. Go play Donkey Kong 64 back. If you think that Mario 64 has not aged well, go play Donkey Kong 64.
I remember not liking Donkey Kong 64 when I was playing it as a kid.
I love that game. It was cool.
I remember playing it and being this is so meh. I didn't play it very much. I played it at a buddy's house one time.
I think the one point I do just want to hone in on is Ocarina of Time is taking the framework of what Super Mario 64 was, and they changed that engine so much. And they included aspects of Star Fox 64 in there as well, which was being developed at the same time.
Yeah.
So stuff like the R-Wing exists in there, and the targeting system and stuff like that. That was more so how do you take 3D platformer and add all that action in. And I think that's what makes Ocarina of Time like that huge improvement over Mario 64 in terms of an action game. Whereas if you're looking at like a open platforming game where you can collect stars and do your collectathon stuff, Mario 64 is the one that laid the groundwork for that. That led to your Donkey Kong 64s, your Spyros, your Banjo-Kazooies. Whereas if you took Ocarina of Time, it's really just take everything that made A Link to the Past really, really great, put it in 3D, but like take the framework that Mario 64 laid out and apply new rules. Like Link isn't going around collecting Triforce pieces. He's going around, solving puzzles in dungeons, fighting tons of enemies, he's collecting medallions, not so much Triforce pieces, or saving maidens trapped in crystals. But he's doing everything that Link to the Past does.
The parallel I kind of put there with Mario 64 is that he collects Skulltula tokens, and I feel like collecting Skulltula tokens feels a lot better than collecting stars, because like you collect a Skulltula token and it doesn't like kick you out of the level and make you do the rest of it again if you want to collect a second Skulltula token and stuff like that.
Side note, how did that town that was so like populated and happy just suddenly turn into a fucking war zone?
They made Ganon very mad. He cursed them all and turned them into nopes.
Now we're back to normal breakdancing again.
Those poor people.
We've gone on at least 3 or 4 tangents since I introduced our video game topic. Shall we go back to console exclusives, or shall we move on?
Yeah, I mean, a good tie-in for that to get us back on track. Console exclusivity does, I think, also lend credence to how well and how, like, influential games can be. And that's why, like, when you were asking why doesn't Crash get the same attention, Crash was a PlayStation game. A lot of people who got PlayStations were looking for, like, Call of Duty, Metal Gear Solid, things like that. Not so much Crash Bandicoot, platformer-type games. And then also, brand recognition, Crash Bandicoot, if you show someone a picture of Crash, not everybody is going to recognize him, whereas you show someone a picture of Mario, everybody's mother and their dog is going to know who Mario is. So that also lends credence to that.
Sure. I think at the time, too, PlayStation's big touting thing was that you could have tons and tons of space being used on a CD, which is a huge win over the Nintendo 64. So, like, if you're talking PlayStation, like, Final Fantasy...
Yeah, that's a true, because that's something I was going to bring up with these console exclusives, was back in that generation, one of the big console exclusives that ended up being a console exclusive, not necessarily because Square had a problem with Nintendo, because Square obviously worked on Nintendo systems for Final Fantasy 1 through 6, but Final Fantasy 7, they could not fit on a cartridge. They made it work on 3 CDs, but even that was, like, more expensive than other games at the time, It's like they had to figure it out somehow, and that's how they ended up doing it.
Oh,
shitty fuck.
Devastating.
So, yeah, that's something. Final Fantasy VII is no small game by any means, in popularity or in, whatever. But do you think Final Fantasy VII would have done better if it had been able, by some stretch of the imagination, to fit on a Nintendo 64?
I don't know.
Would that have done... Another interesting thing is, would that have ended up making it so that Final Fantasy did not return to a Nintendo system until Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition? And that wasn't even the real, quote-unquote, Final Fantasy 15.
I think for Final Fantasy it would have been better for Square, because it would have been another platform that they could have done sales on, but it would have been, would have hurt Sony a little bit more because it would take away an exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that gets back to my original point that I made at the get-go, that software drives hardware.
Yeah.
I grew up a Nintendo kid, but Final Fantasy tempted me a few times. I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to cheat on Nintendo a little bit, and I did. Final Fantasy was the culprit.
That was why I got my PSP, was so that I could play Final Fantasy games.
Mm-hmm.
I got my PSP actually on a random whim because a buddy of mine in high school was like, I don't like my PSP, I want to get a Nintendo DS. And he was like, will you give me $50 for this? And I was like, yeah, okay. So I got my PSP. At the time, I think they were like $199 new or something like that. And he was like, just sold it to me for $50. I was like, fuck yeah. And then I played all sorts of cool stuff on there. Crisis Core was a really good game. Obviously, they remade Final Fantasy 1 and 2. I mean, technically, they used that remake on a shitload of systems because that was available on Game Boy Advance and PS1 and PSP and maybe something else. I feel like it was on something else too, but now I can't think of what it was. Those were really cool versions of Final Fantasy 1 and 2 as well. Got no idea where I'm going again. This game is weird like that.
I think you had the right idea sliding under the wall. I mean, if nothing else, that's new territory.
Yeah, but how do I...
There's a lot of people...
What the fuck? I just walked through the wall. Okay, and now I go up here, and now I fall in the hole. Okay, that's what I did last time. I remember that now. Now I'm out of lives, which means I need a new beer, which means we need to pause the podcast recording briefly so that I can go get a new beer. Today's second beer of the week is Deschutes Fresh Haze IPA. So let's see how that goes. Also, I got a cool koozie, because I got lots of koozies. I don't get drunk, I get awesome. That's what it says on the koozie, if you can't see that. And if you can't see that, it's probably because you're not checking out our YouTube version with really sweet Sonic 06 gameplay. And sometimes, usually, actually, Chris plays Minecraft or Dead by Daylight or something. But today we've got Sonic 06, so that should be good, too.
So, Sean?
Yes?
What happens if later down the line the show gets more popular and you have, like, an alcohol company try to sponsor you, like, hey, we'll give you money, but in turn you can only drink our stuff?
If they will give me a new beer to drink every week, I will fucking take it.
That's quite the challenge.
Right? Because that's what I try to do anyways, is I try to have a new beer on the week every podcast. This week, obviously, I've had actually two. I've never had this Galactic Cowboy before, and I might have had this Deschutes before, but I have not had it in recent memory, and I don't believe I've had it on the podcast. So it's, again, a new thing. Yes, Deschutes is another Colorado beer company. Left Hand Brewery is as well, who makes this Galactic Cowboy. So that's what I generally try to promote, is Colorado-based breweries, or not necessarily always, but at least craft breweries, because we get a fair amount of distribution here from California breweries, sometimes from New Mexico, or different places around. Montana has a fair amount, Washington has a fair amount, and those places distribute here to Colorado. So I try to get as many different kinds of beer as I can on the podcast, just to promote. Really, one of the things that I am all about is support your local microbreweries, because they make better beer than any of the corporate beer companies you can ever go to. As much as I like Guinness, they don't make as good a stout as almost any microbrew stout I've ever had. You go to a microbrewery, they will have a better version of whatever it is you like. If you like Guinness, go find an oatmeal stout, a milk stout, something. You'll probably find something that's better than Guinness. You like Budweiser, go find some kind of lager at your local microbrewery. They'll probably have something similar, but you'll drink it and you'll be like, oh my fuck, this is way better. So that is what we are here about on Drink to the Past, at least one of our things. is about support your local microbrews. They are fucking awesome.
So that means you're not going to, when you're rich and famous, go whoring yourself on social media like, hey Budweiser, sponsor us. Hey Bush, sponsor us. Hey well, okay, maybe not Michelob, but hey Coors, sponsor us.
If they give me money, I'll let them sponsor me. But at the end of the day, I'm still gonna admit, if sponsorship means that I have to say no, don't drink craft brews ever, then fuck that. Go drink a craft brew. At the end of the day, beer is more important to me than money, because beer is half of where my money goes anyway.
But money can be used to get more beer.
The real question is, you've had two very different brews tonight. How do they stack up against each other?
So the Galactic Cowboy, I think I gave a 12 or 13, something like that.
I think you gave it a 12.
Yeah. This one is interesting, hoppy and juicy, as you might expect from an IPA. Mouthfeel is fairly generic. It is a little hazy, as it says. It's called Fresh Haze IPA. It's not the haziest IPA I've ever had, but it's got certainly that kind of thing. Yeah, it's a really nice sipping beer. It's a little hard to describe, because it's really almost like drinking fucking juice or something, It's not like so much a beer as it is just like a nice, easy drinking sweet thing, which I think there's a time and place for beers like that, like a hot summer night, like tonight, because Colorado has had nothing but hot summer nights, except for that week that it snowed for no reason, because we're in Colorado. And I'm okay with that. I'm going to give this one... Give it a nice 14. That is a nice, easy sipping thing. It's
solid.
It's not too far in any direction. It's not super malty, as you don't generally expect. Normally, I like a little more malt content than is in your average IPA, but in this case, it really just kind of works with whatever it's doing to bring you that really just juicy flavor. It's
like drinking a flower.
Not quite so much a flower. It really just reminds me a little bit of orange juice. It's not really orange juice style flavor, but that's kind of the idea that I'm coming out with is like, it's like fucking juice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Orange.
We'll
That's a decent beer.
I get,
like the can.
Yeah.
Well, we'll do a thing where when Skip and I will go out, I'll usually get an IPA, and Skip doesn't drink beer. But
sorry.
I've gotten her to have a sip or two, and usually
Sometimes I stick my finger in it.
You'll stick your finger in, yeah. But what we'll do is I'll get the beer, I'll take a sip, and then I'll pass the beer to her, and she'll smell the beer and say, "Oh, it smells like a beer that would taste pretty good."
Smells okay.
Smells okay. So how's the beer smell?
You get a lot out of
you
the
can
smell.
get a lot off the nose. I feel like, for me, I feel like you don't get as much off the nose out of a beer out of a can. But
Sure, yeah.
I'll kind of crack
You
that a
get
little
like
bit
a
more,
draft.
get a little bit more nose in here.
Nothing beats a draft beer,
In
except 2 draft beers.
One for each end.
I'll drink to that.
Or maybe draft beer at home. How's that sound? That sounds even better.
If I, as soon as I have a garage, the first thing I'm going to put in there is a fucking kegerator.
Yeah, it's
I'm
great.
like, I live in my little condo now, and it's fine for now, but, I really just want, like, a big-ass space for a kegerator.
Half keg could get you a long ways, through.
That's true. My brother, when we used to live at home with our parents, my brother worked at Golden City Brewery, is another little local brewery out here. If you're in the Colorado area, check them out. They have the best beer in the fucking world. But he worked there for a while, and every now and then would bring home just like a little like pony keg kind of thing, and some of that was just really awesome to just have on hand. I remember we also used to go to this little gaming cafe thing. It's called Maximum Gamer, and it's like you buy time there to use their PC computers to play different games that they have just installed for you already. So it was a kind of a cool place, and I remember when we used to go there, he'd always have a cherry Coke bottle, and he'd go fill it full of beer in the back of his truck and come back in and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get more cherry Coke." Sorry, Josh, I'm ratting you out.
I can relate to that. I've done that at a few Magic the Gathering pre-releases with a coffee cup instead of a cherry Coke bottle, but that had a nice tall boy of Bud Light in there.
Nice.
The giveaway is that you don't drink coffee, so.
Yeah, well, none of them knew that. They thought I was a big coffee drinker to stay awake. I was falling down on the magic table.
There you go. So now I gotta slide under that wall, but first I gotta know where that wall is. So, is there any kind of final thoughts we want to talk about on console exclusives, or shall we move on to our table topic?
I think we're good on console exclusives. I do want to point out one outstanding fact.
Mm-hmm.
When we're looking at like what game is influential, and we talked a lot about comparing N64 to PlayStation 1, and we left out the Sega Saturn because I don't know who had a Sega Saturn.
Chris, my co-host that is normally
Oh
here.
yeah,
Yeah,
Sega Saturn was a Saturn guy.
among other things. Yeah, he had a bunch of different. He was big into Sega, I think, because he was the guy that got me into Nights into Dreams a little bit, and
Well, that game's a trip.
yeah, I feel like
looking
it's
at
not
my-
anything but a
talk to that guy on the
trip,
roof.
but it was decent. It was interesting. It was. I feel like it would have been so much better if I had been on acid.
It seems like a game that you should be on for it. Not that I condone or partake in any things that you put in your mouth like that, but
Yeah. I won't go into
it seems
detail,
like a
but
game
there's
that
one
would
story
be-
that Chris shared with me that I am pretty much like never gonna do acid because of this story. So here's to Chris.
Cheers.
to acid. I mean to Chris.
Drink to whatever you want to.
The closing point I want to make here is that the PlayStation outsold the N64 by a very large margin.
Mm-hmm.
A huge margin. And we want to talk like further consoles. PlayStation 2 is the most sold console
Yeah,
ever.
all time.
Ever.
Oh.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
It is the highest sold console in the world of all time. To the point where there might be a FIFA 2020. I don't know if there is.
There is.
For PlayStation 2.
Oh, that being said, the Switch is on track to outpace the PS2.
That would be great. That'd be cool.
Yeah, if it
Fingers
keeps
crossed.
its numbers,
Yeah.
you know, the way they've been going, it's definitely possible. So I think that's a very exciting thing for Switch. But anyways, shall we get into our table topic?
Well, yeah.
Do it.
Do it.
So our table topic today is go-to systems for various tabletop RPG play, and why you love your go-to system, and what it would take to replace your go-to system if you were ever to find a new thing that finally took over and was like, okay, this is just better, I'm going to go and play this system now. And this is a topic that I get into because where I'm coming from, I started in 3.0 Dungeons & Dragons, and eventually worked my way into 3.5 in Pathfinder. And now 3.5, with a little bit of Pathfinder mixed in basically as house rules, is kind of where I am today as a tabletop gamer. I play almost exclusively 3.5 and Pathfinder games with, you know, the groups that I play with. And we dabble in other things here and there. We'll do a 5th edition campaign here. We'll do an OD&D campaign there, and different things like that. But at the end of the day, we pretty much come back to 3.5, which is, I think partially the reason for that is that it was like, you know, it's close enough to my first system that I like really just dig everything that 3.5 ever did, and also it's just a lot more customizable than any of the newer editions. 4th edition and 5th edition just don't feel like they have nearly the same customization as 3.5 did, even, you know, however many years later. Just 3.5 was ridiculously customizable because they reduced, you know, even just in the core rulebooks, it was pretty customizable, and then they kept printing material for years and years and years after the release, to where there's, you know, including third-party there's third-party stuff still coming out now, especially for Pathfinder, which Pathfinder, while it's technically a different system, is 100% compatible with 3.5 Dungeons & Dragons. So if you're playing 3.5, you can buy a Pathfinder book and it'll work.
That's
right?
bonkers.
With literally no problem.
Oh, you're riding him like the orca whale. This is where Sonic was training before.
Right, yeah.
It all leads up to this.
Now you switch to Tails.
Got that grip strength. Yo.
So yeah, I wondered where everybody else kind of came from as far as RPGs go, and you know, what your guys' go-to RPGs are. I think, Crow, you've talked about 5th edition being your main one before on the podcast. Am I right? Or
Right. I've only ever played 5th edition thus far, so I don't have much to input as far as, you know, go-to, but I guess as far as like what it would take to shake me off of it, I have no idea. Ease of entry, customizability, just I don't know how engaging it is the biggest thing.
that is one thing that I definitely think that 5th edition has over 3.5 is ease of entry. Because you get into a 5th edition campaign, you know, you have no problem. Like, you can get 4 buddies who are interested, who have never played a tabletop before, buy, you know, the player's handbook and figure it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in other games, that's just not even close to the case, right? In like 3.5, like, you might be able to do that depending on how savvy you are, but really in 3.5, the best scenario is like, at the very least, the DM has a vague idea of how the system works, right?
You'd hope.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, the DM should know how the system works, or the GM, depending on your system, because I'm not necessarily saying D&D is better than any other system, but obviously D&D is the most popular tabletop system in the world, and has been since it came out. So, you know.
It's the grandpappy of them all.
Yeah. So what do you guys play, Skip or Kevin?
Kevin, take it.
I'll take the wheel here. So I got into the tabletop scene playing 5th edition. I want to say I'm more of a newer player. I got in playing 5th edition. We started with Minds of Philander, and I did a lot of research through the player's handbook to kind of like spearhead my gaggle of original players who, out of that group that I first started playing with, there's 3 of us that still play today. The other 3 kind of just went off and weren't really as interested in it.
Right.
And I've since like incorporated a larger group. But playing 5th edition was like my intro into the series. I played Stars Without Numbers as well.
Okay.
And I had a lot of help from the DM that hosted that game to kind of like get into that. Like, he helped us on Roll20 with getting our character sheets and saying like, all right, yeah, like here's kind of like, we homebrewed a lot of things. This is Star Wars based campaign we played through the set. 5th edition, I think has a lot of there's a lot of like separate source materials. I find like a lot of what Wizards of the Coast is doing with some of the Magic the Gathering like aspects into the game is helping me get like reinvested back into it. And I love looking back at some of the lore for different races in like 3.5 or some older flavors of D&D that kind of like get me like reinvigorated back into just playing a tabletop game.
Right.
Some games that don't necessarily go off systems, like I've played Betrayal at House and Hill, and that game has more of like a boiled down, like you have might and sanity, whereas you like break them down into two separate things, and you play the game with like drawing tiles in a haunted house. It's a really fun time. It's a really good, I think, introductory like tabletop board game for people that it includes rules, but you want to have a person that's invested enough to maybe think they're on the fringe of a D&D campaign, but they don't like want to bite the bullet or like pull the trigger and do it. It kind of like streamlines a few things for you. I think those kinds of games are a lot of fun, provided there's not too many rules. I've been playing 5th edition for a few years, and I just started playing, due to the nature of the world that we live in, I've been playing remotely on Roll20, and the beautiful aspect of that is that I've been able to play that live over the internet.
Yeah.
And what that has allowed me to do is I've been able to live stream it and like play with my with my friends in this D&D group and broadcast to be able to show Skip like a D&D game and show the boys too, like here's a D&D game, and here's like all the fun that you can do, like you can create this character and put this on like a virtual board or a real board and say like, all right, yeah, like I'm a wizard, and you're a wizard, Harry, and a thumping good one. You're a divination wizard, you're a Naga wizard that's part of this mercenary gang who's going to help out and do this stuff to like divine whatever the group is going to do that day.
The boys have gotten really excited about it. Like, I'm surprised because it doesn't look like much when you sit down. It's not like watching Sonic 2006 here. Like, it's not a lot to look at. But my oldest has gotten really interested in D&D, just watching Kevin and his friends just like sit there and talk and roll like this dice on the screen, the virtual dice. It's been pretty cool, and watching him figure it out too. Like my oldest doesn't know any of the rules or anything, but just watching them, he's figuring it out.
Right.
Yeah, like as a show, it's sort of.
I just fucking fell into the goddamn sand. What was that?
Sonic can't swim in sand.
I guess you can't walk on sand either. Fucking idiot.
He's too heavy.
Terrible.
Too many chili dogs.
Too many chili dogs.
Shit. That's a good reference to the old Sonic cartoon. I'll drink to that.
Or the comic books, yeah, Archie
Fuck
comics.
Yeah.
I think just having D&D as like a watchable thing has been kind of like the gateway of me brainwashing Skip into accepting this as a thing. But no, I don't know. Like you have an interest. I know that, Skip. Like you want to play.
So cute, thinking you can brainwash me. That's adorable.
You've been living inside my head rent free, and I didn't even know. There's something special about D&D.
It's happened again.
I think you got to jump, dude.
I guess, but why?
Look at that sand. That's a pretty big divot. This question mark might tell you. What?
I can't even. Yeah, D&D with my kids has been an interesting thing because, like, my kids wouldn't probably know what D&D was if it wasn't for actually quarantine and the fact that I had to... Oh, shit. I fell through the fucking... why am I not surprised that I fell through a weird boundary like that? But yeah, I started actually... My kids got interested when I was designing a Roll20 campaign, because I'd never done any kind of online D&D at all before quarantine started, and then I started doing Roll20 with a buddy of mine, and our group kind of had to go virtual, basically, because, you know, we were like, okay, it's quarantine now, we can't really meet in person at my house anymore, right? And so I was designing my...
with the stand here. Press right trigger.
Huh.
Like, hold it down or something while you're...
Yeah, because I'm doing that, like, to blow up the robots, but I can't tell what's going on. But yeah, my kids were like, hey, what are you doing when I'm... Why does that let me stand on the sand?
It's the power of you and Final Fantasy lady.
Okay. But yeah, my kids were like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm designing a game. It's Dungeons and Dragons. And they were kind of interested from there. And actually, the system that I started them on, because they were interested, was not Dungeons and Dragons, but actually a system that I designed with a little bit of co-design help from Chris. Is a system we call SSSS, which is the Super Simple Super System, which we basically invented because superhero tabletop RPG systems, like the Hero system or whatever, are usually very complicated, and you have to spend a lot of time just learning the system to even make a character. And we wanted a system that you could pick up the book and have some buddies and decide one of you as a GM and just, like, everybody has 10 or 15 minutes to make a character and get playing, but without losing any of the customization that is available in systems like the Hero system. So I took some concepts from the Hero system and I built some concepts of my own, and Chris helped me along the way with some of the numbers and things and some of the other design aspects, and really we ended up making a very customizable system that didn't sacrifice anything from... As far as I can tell, it really didn't sacrifice any customization, and you can literally, like, I've got together with groups to playtest this in, like, 10 minutes. So that's the system that I kind of decided to get my kids started on, and it totally worked, and they were having tons of fun, and they could just, you know, roll the dice and add their modifier and just be happy with it.
What they wanted to do.
Yeah, and... that kind of brings me back to the point of what I love about 3.5. Like I said before, one of the things is that it's just so customizable. And for me to get invested into another system, it would take at least that amount of customization, but it would have to be in a similar vein to the system that we've created. Not to toot our own horn or anything, except for, you know, eventually we hope to publish this and, you know, make something off of it, hopefully, is kind of my pipe dream there. I'm kind of like, you know, I'd like to publish this and make some dough off of it. But if not, you know, even if I just get my name out there and, you know, publish something that people like, I'd be happy enough with that. So, but yeah,
what is that guy doing right there?
I have no idea, but he seems to be invincible.
Fun in the stuff.
He looked like he was waiting for you to hit him on the... Alright, fine.
Maybe. I think he's dead now. But yeah, so it would have to be as customizable as 3.5, but with an easier buy-in, you know? You wouldn't have to be nearly as complicated, because that's something that's really intimidated a lot of players that I've played with, that 3.5, like, it's customizable as shit, but, like, it's a fairly steep learning curve, and, you know, if you don't have one person in the group who knows what they're doing, it's hard to get into. And even for some people that I've played with, like, I know what we're doing, I'm introducing you to this system, it's still sometimes hard for people to get into, because they're like, you know what you're doing, but to me, you're just spouting off lots of numbers and rules, and at the end of the day, it just seems like a lot of complicated stuff that doesn't need to be so complicated. And I'm like, I kind of get that, especially from 5th edition players who are, again, with that easier barrier of entry, are just like, everything should be, you know, self-explanatory, which 5th edition, I feel like, is generally fairly self-explanatory.
Even with 5th edition, though, there's a lot of things that kind of become complicated. And maybe this is coming from like a Magic player where there's like turns and there's orders to things and there's like just certain kind of like almost keywords that you can do where it's like, what if I wanted to grapple a guy? And it's like, you want to grapple a person? Alright, well, let me turn to page like 76 through 85 on how you can grapple a person. And if you're spell casting, it's just kind of damning. You want to be able to do like cool stuff to be like, alright, yeah, I just want to shoot fire out of my hands. And it's like, well, hold on, though. You don't want to take that spell. You want to take lightning bolt or this one.
Right, yeah, because you'll have,
more,
you know,
like,
this will do your fireball, but this one will be like more damage overall or something. Yeah. Or this spell is better if you build your entire character around it, you know, stuff like that. Is definitely, I don't think there's probably an RPG system that's entirely free of that kind of thing. But
sure. I mean, yeah, you're building a character, so you have like weights and balances that you need to make on like what your character wants to be and wants to do.
Yeah.
But there's certain things with 5th edition where it's like there's like 4 options that kind of suck, and then there's like one that's clearly superior, but it may not be superior to everybody. And if you have a person that wants to do something for flavor, it's just like, why don't you just have the option to be like, alright, you want to deal damage to a person. Do you want to deal it as like ice damage, fire, or lightning, or what have you?
You know, it's kind of funny you should mention that, because that's sort of how I designed our super system, is that basically the numbers are kind of written in stone, but you get to design the flavor behind every single thing that you do, which is how it ends up being so customizable, because there's basically a power creation rule in our system that you get this many points to spend on your power, and this type of power that deals damage costs this much, this type of power that causes a stat effect does, you know, this much, costs this many points, and eventually you're just basically spending points in order to create literally whatever power you want. And I've gone to the lengths of like going to Twitter and like asking people for what they think is complicated powers and seeing if I could create it in my system. And I have so far yet to find a power that I can't just be like, this is how it works in my system.
What about Arcane Eye?
What does Arcane Eye do?
Very random divination spell that lets you like creep around walls and see stuff for like an hour or two.
Okay. Yeah, I could create that in my system fairly easily, because one of the things that I have in my system is called a utility power. It's like, if a particular thing, non-combat related, it comes up, you can do a particular non-combat related action. And so this would fall under that category. So you would basically create it as a non-combat action that you could just do, like, probably just at will, and, you know, like, okay, I can just, like, look around corners and see what's there. Okay, that's how the power works, then that's what happens.
Cool. This sounds like a way to break the boys in, right, Skip?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, it was funny, because I asked my kids about it, and, like, they designed such weird heroes, and, like, one of my kids was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be a guy with a big giant sword," and my other kid was just like, "I'm gonna throw bombs at people."
All right.
That
That sounds like the middle boy.
That sounds like Turner, and then that sounds like Liam. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn it!
Is pretty spot on. Yeah.
I could stand
Yeah,
on this
right? Am I right?
using my
On fire
shield.
by
This is
looking
weird.
at them.
Yeah, that's my middle child. It's always the middle child.
I don't have a
To
middle
light
child. I
everything on
only have
fire.
2, so it's like, I guess that kind of works.
They share that middle child.
Well, if you want that, if you want your youngest to ever be corrupted, have another one. Make him the middle child. You'll see a shift.
Right. We've thought about it. We're like, maybe. We'll go for it and see what happens.
His fate lies in that balance right there.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with the
Inside.
twofer.
This is true.
We'll get you playing D&D, Skip. We'll get you on 5e.
Oh, I don't doubt
I don't
it.
know.
Like you're pretty laser focused on that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, one of these days
We
we
were
could do
actually
it on
just
Drink to the
talking-
Past, because, Crow, if
Yeah, I
you
still
still
owe
not
you a DM
DM...
session.
Yeah, because Crow said his first DM session ever would be on Drink to the Past, so maybe we'll get Crow's first DM session and Skip's first actual play session in the same session.
Totally.
That'd be awesome.
Totally disregarding the fact that I've
Oh.
DM'd like 4 sessions since.
Shh.
I mean, yes, first ever.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah.
It's alright. We were just talking about like what D&D character you would be in real life. Like what is the most like your mood ring of D&D character? Like, what class would you be?
Why can't I move?
Because sand.
Of course, it gets everywhere.
It's coarse, it's grainy.
It's
Well,
in
we
his
were
shoes.
just asking. This doesn't have to do with D&D, but the question of the day was, if you were to live to see the PlayStation like go through its different console evolutions, and let's say that it continues on PlayStation 6, PlayStation 7, what is going to be the last console that you play before you die?
Definitely something Nintendo.
But I mean, like,
For me, like
Yeah.
it was, I did the very complicated math, and I found out that I'd make myself all the way to PlayStation 19 if I'm lucky.
Yeah, because I guess average life expectancy is, what, something around 70 years or so?
I gave myself a
more
lot of
than
years.
that. I think
Is it-
75.
70,
I
80,
told
so-
myself that
Yeah,
I'd make it
I was
to
guessing
85.
70 or 80. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah. So, and how often does a new console come around? Every
We said like every 4 years.
4 years? Okay, so, I'm 29, if I live to 80, that's another 50 years. So 50 divided by 4 is 12 and a half, so 12 and a half more PlayStations after 5 is 17. Right?
And change. You
Yes.
make it to like the 18.
Yes, 70.
Yeah, I might
Yes,
get to
yeah.
18.
We'll give you 18. Yes, 18.
Yeah. Crow, you're a little younger than me, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm 24, turning 25 here soon.
Yeah.
Right? Yes.
Skip's making it past PS20, that's for sure.
I'm going for it. I'm saying PS20. I'm not.
It's what, every 7 years?
Skip's a young 22.
Give me a second to...
I'm 16.
No, you're not. Don't scare me.
It's okay. My dad has been 29 for 40 years.
Good for him.
Well, I agree.
What a guy.
Yeah, we just celebrated my grandpa's 21st birthday for the, 20th time.
What a miracle.
Wow, he's only 41.
The miracle of life.
Yeah.
We celebrated our 21st together.
Grandpa's gonna outlive us all.
Yeah.
He's gonna make it to PlayStation like 79. Like, what the fuck, Grandpa? Come on, you don't even game, man.
You don't even game, man. That's the trick. Don't game, and you'll make it.
Do you even game, bruh? All right. Is there anything else we want to say on this table topic, or shall we be done for the day?
I'm done. Kev, you good?
Topic. Yeah.
So what would it take you guys to stop playing 5th edition and have a new system? I guess is our kind of last part of our question there.
It's hard because I am so invested in 5e. Like, I know it all, you know? To the point where, like, I've read books about things that I will never ever play or experience it. But I know it.
You know, that's a funny thing about 3.5 is actually I went over to my dad's house the other day, and he was like, hey, here's this box of stuff that is my brother's. And he was like, can you bring it down to his house? And I brought him some of it, and I stole all of his old 3.0, 3.5 D&D books, and I've just been, like, occasionally looking through them just to see, and I'm like, 90% of it is stuff I'm never going to use in my life in D&D, because most of the stuff that I do as a DM is I just make homebrew stuff for whatever I happen to do. I'm just like, okay, I need a Kraken. I can make a hilarious Kraken, right? I do almost all homebrew stuff. And, but I still think it's, hey, there you go. If I had a shot of Kraken, I'd drink it, but my Kraken is up on top of the fridge.
Quality right there, Kraken and Coke.
Mm-hmm. I've never had Kraken and Coke because I just love Kraken so much that every time I have Kraken and Coke, I'm like, here's a Kraken and here's a Coke, and I'm going to drink them separately.
You can do that. That's fine. That's Kraken and Coke.
Yeah.
I do that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, all right. I think that's going to about do it for our podcast then. So thank you anybody who's listening and or watching for joining us. As always, my name is Sean Michael Patrick Thompson, the host of Drink to the Past. You can catch me on twoguys.playingzelda.com. I write articles occasionally. I have a new one that I have an idea for that I'm going to publish eventually. That'll be cool. About why I'm accidentally an Xbox gamer, which a little bit of that we explored earlier on the podcast. And of course, we always have my co-host, Chris. Isn't here today, Audette. So because he's not here, we all have to like laugh at him. Ha ha, Chris, you're not here. What a douche. And thank you again to our 3 special guests this week. Skip, as always, you are great.
Hey.
apparently.
Even though this is the first time you're here, this is as always. You're
She's always great.
just wonderful.
She's lovely. Can confirm she is lovely.
All right, I'll drink to that.
Do not disappoint.
All right, and good old Mr. Shabazzle, Kevin O'Rourke.
It's me, Long Island's finest.
Yeah. And good old Crow.
Yeah.
We hardly knew you.
Just there. I don't think I need to plug anything at this point.
Right, yeah. You know where to find Crow, probably if you've been a fan of the podcast for a little while. However, Crow, do we have a little thing to cross-promote here?
Yes, we have a special crossover event, stream, video thing, whatever, coming on October 23rd between Drink to the Past and my group channel, The 4 Players. It'll be fun. There'll be booze. There'll probably be some tears. It'll be some laughs and good times.
Yeah, so definitely check that out, because that's going to come on, and we're going to have a big old crossover. So if you haven't heard of Crow's other channel, The 4 Players, check them out on YouTube. They have some gameplay clips and various things with a bunch of fun banter. Check them out for sure. Yeah. And as always, we're just Drink to the Past, and we're going to have a big old crossover event next month, so be sure to stay tuned. All right, and now is the final segment of the podcast where we just say, like, whatever just random shit happens to flow in the conversation until somebody says something really, really awkward, and then I cut the podcast off.
I would love to have, like, a compilation of all of the ending statements one of these days. Maybe that'd be something I'll do when you hit the 100th episode.
Right, yeah, do a compilation of all of the just all of the clips of the final like 2 seconds of the podcast where we say something just
right. What's the winning
usually
stupid?
it's sexual somehow. Just somehow ends up like that.
Yeah.
I think last time I was on the show, I started showing off some games that I had kicking around, and I recently went to my parents, and I had this big stack of Zelda games that I picked up.
Awesome.
So like I scooped up Skyward Sword with the soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
It's
I've got
pretty
that
cool
version.
it came with it. Like,
Yeah,
look
we
at
have that one.
Gold soundtrack in there.
Yeah, I have that version.
Pretty
Here,
nice.
hold on. Let me see if I can match your soundtrackiness. That'll be awesome.
I'm always happy whenever someone trades in Skyward Sword and it has the soundtrack in it.
All my Wii games are in the back, and I don't want to take out all my Switch games. So you win this
Well,
round.
then this means we have two. We have my copy and we have your copy.
That's right, yeah.
Awesome.
I scooped up Four Swords Adventures.
Four Swords Adventures is just an awesome game. I was looking around
love
for
the
my
way
Game
this
Boy
works.
Advance cables the other day because I was so pissed off about the PS4 and Switch version of what's the game? Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles that I was just like, fuck this! I'm just gonna play it on GameCube. And
They really
I was
need to
thinking of
port
that,
to
and
Switch.
I think I found all 4 of my Game Boy Advance link cables, but I only have 2 Game Boy Advances, so it's like, damn it.
Oh,
I
When-
really hope that they bring it to Switch.
When my
Which one?
boys,
Four Swords Adventures?
Yeah.
That would be really great on Switch, because you could just, like, add Joy-Con support, and just, which is, but that's the problem with Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, is they could have done that, and they just didn't. They're just like, no local multiplayer, and I'm like, what is the point of this game without more local multiplayer? Fuck you, Square. I'm gonna buy everything you ever make except for this.
when my, I was just saying, when my boys played Four Swords Adventures on the GameCube with the Game Boy Advances, like it was like I realized why I had children.
Nice.
Was to watch that game finally be played the way it was supposed to be played.
It's
That
the
is
only
amazing.
reason.
Yeah, it's the only
to
reason.
watch Four Swords.
look at the price tag for little GameStop price tag for
That's an
Twilight
old one.
Princess on GameCube. $30.
That's an old school.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's actually not
Those are
bad,
old-
because some of those old
old
GameCube
purchase
games
here.
I've found out are, like, really expensive. I'm kind of surprised the I guess because Twilight Princess got the
Princess
Wii
is
version as well is
The Wii
probably why
version
it's
sold
not...
a lot more.
Yeah, I guess that's probably why it's not as much. Because I was looking up, because I found my old copy of Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, and I was looking it up, and
that's
that
gotta be like $100 game. Though.
that game is like $300
I
used.
believe it, yeah.
And I was just like,
Holy
oh my god, that's
crap,
insane.
$300?
Yeah, and I was just
Yeah.
like, I looked up like all my other games, and some of the other ones I have are up $100 or $200 as well. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, I'm sitting on a gold mine, but I love these games so much that I'm never gonna benefit from it.
There's
Yeah, like the kids that grew up with GameCube, like they have that expendable income now, and they want these games.
there's a Game Boy Color game. Let's say it is the original Shantae. GameStop sells it for like $400.
I believe it, yeah.
Will that change
Long
now
time.
that Limited Run is doing another run of Game Boy Color cartridges for it?
That'll probably tank the price.
Maybe.
Yeah, because that's what I've been kind of looking, because it's $45, I think, on Limited Run for a cartridge. And I've been thinking, like, as soon as Payday comes in, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to be like, okay, I'm getting Shantae on Game Boy Color. But now I'm wondering, though, because that'll kind of... It'll change the market, but it'll be a difference between, do you have a limited run cartridge or do you have an original cartridge? So I'm wondering
Right.
if that'll really affect it that much. And I think
Yeah.
it will affect it some
Maybe.
because it'll be
Probably,
easier to find a Game Boy Color cartridge. But I also am not sure how much that'll affect it because
I think
it's the
it won't
collector
affect the
value of the original versus the collector value of a limited run
Right.
game.
I don't think it'll impact the value to the collectors who are looking for vintage cartridges, but to the layman, I just want to play Shantae on Game Boy Color, drop the value.
Yeah, because that's kind of where I'm at. Is like I would like never spend that much on Shantae. Like Shantae is a weird series where I've also.
Very weird series.
I was talking about this earlier on several other series that I've just been eyeing it from the side, being like, I should get into that, and I never have. And now I'm like, now I could get into that series on the original hardware. I still have my Game Boy Color in my closet. I'm gonna fucking bring it out, buddy. So, yeah.
It's very difficult, but there's, especially with like NES and Super NES now, there's a lot of repro folks that will like make reproduction cartridges or even like mods to games or like ROM hacks to games of like way back, like NES, Super NES.
Yeah. It's funny because I've actually seen like Nintendo 64 copies of Ocarina of Time Master Quest because of that.
Yeah,
which technically
that
only
ROM
released on
yeah.
GameCube, but then people took that mod and, put it onto a N64 and made a cartridge.
Yeah, right here. Yeah, it's a weird
thing.
version too. There's a few versions of the Master Quest version as well too.
That's one that
Some
I
that
have
work
at my parents'
around
house
that.
somewhere, and I'm just like, I want to find it.
This is like over $100, I feel like.
Yeah, I looked that up. I think it
Very
was
good.
125 or something around there, and I was just
Yeah,
because the
fine.
reason I looked that one up was actually because I was like, I know I have it somewhere, but I can't find it. I was like, okay, I didn't spend that much on it when I bought it because I didn't get it with
Yeah.
the GameCube. I got it used, but I got it used in the generation where the GameCube was the system, right? And so I
got
think
it with the Wind Waker from Kmart, with the Kmart edition Wind Waker.
nice.
Exclusive bonus comes with the guide.
Oh wow,
This was huge.
that's kind of cool. Yeah, because
I
I
played the GameCube Ocarina of Time more than I played Wind Waker, to be honest.
I mean, that's true for me too, because I played a ton of the N64 Ocarina of Time, and then when the Ocarina of Time version, I actually have the other version of Ocarina of Time I have is also on GameCube. I have the Zelda Collector's Edition, which, yeah, I got that was when I got my GameCube. Yeah, that one. There you go. And
This is the buggiest version of Majora's Mask in the world.
it is?
The absolute
Is it?
buggiest.
Huh.
Is it really?
I played this in Mississippi in 2013 at the ZD Marathon. First year I was there. And I played this against Mr. Caleb Simpson, who was playing off the N64. I got hit by a Keese at Stone Tower towards the end of the game. I died, the game crashed, I had no save, it loaded me back to Koron. I was just turning into Darunia.
Wow.
Oh, not
That does make
Darunia,
sense.
oh boy. Skip, help me out.
I know who,
Darmani.
I know who you're talking about.
Darmani,
Darmani.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Darmani.
Darunia.
Sorry, I was just so enthralled with your story. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I was spacing.
Mhm. Yeah, that's kind of funny because that's the only version of Majora's Mask I've ever played. Other than later I got Majora's Mask 3D, but I didn't get as much into it because the bosses were just changed so much that it was weird. And
Yeah, they're
even
way
with
better.
as little as I played it on the GameCube, I was just like, this is so alien to me, and I couldn't get into it on. And I was just like, you know
3D
what?
fixed
My
so
save
much
on my
stuff, dude.
GameCube is further ahead than this anyway. I'm just eventually gonna pick up my save on GameCube and beat the rest of the game because I got.
Plunk
Yeah.
down, take a look at a guide, and try 3D Majora's Mask. It's pretty great.
Okay, I actually
It's
did
worth
have a
trying.
guide on part of Majora's Mask 3D because eventually I was just like, I want to just finish this because Majora's Mask is one of the 2 Zelda games that I've never beat, and it kind of kills me
What's the
that
other
I've
one?
never beat Majora's Mask or Zelda 2.
Those ones are both great.
And Zelda 2, like, I'll agree with you on Majora's Mask. It's a good game. It's got a lot going for it. But Zelda 2 is just a game that I just, as many times as I play it, trying to like it, I just cannot find a single redeeming factor beyond the music. I'm like, I really dig the temple theme. I really dig a lot that's going on with it. Like, even just the title menu is really awesome music. But beyond that, I'm just like, the gameplay suffers so much. It's
hard.
It's...
You know,
I don't even feel like the problem is that it's hard, though, because Zelda 1 is hard, but Zelda 1 is hard in a way that feels fair. Zelda 2 is hard in a way that feels unfair, where it's like, literally the first dungeon, you're fighting Stalfos, and they fight with you with a sword and shield, except for your sword and shield, you can attack up and block up, or attack down and block down, and whichever one you are, your sword and shield are at the same place, and the Stalfos can attack down while they block up, or vice versa. So it's literally in the first dungeon that you're fighting an enemy that is literally the same as you, except it has a better ability for combat. And the hitboxes are weird, and it kills me as a Zelda fan that I have a Zelda game that I really don't like, but I fucking hate this game. It's fucking terrible.
It hurts my eyes. It hurts my eyes. Side scrolling with all the bricks.
It hurts mine
so
too.
Many, There's so many bricks.
Especially in the first palace too. It's like a little rough.
You know what, Sean? I think for the first ever Drink to the Past, like, continuous game, I think you need to beat Zelda 2 on the show.
It's gonna be a long
I
podcast.
mean, you got it on the Switch now.
You don't have to do it.
I mean,
all
technically,
on one
I got it on a
podcast.
couple. I got a save that's a fair way in on the GameCube. Actually, on again that Zelda 2 disc, or the Zelda Collector's Edition disc has Zelda 1 and 2 on it, and I think that's the furthest I've ever got. I think I got to level 5 or 6.
That's pretty good.
And I powered through that point, and then I just couldn't go anymore. I don't remember exactly
Play the
where I
special
was
edition.
anymore.
Do you have Switch Online?
I do have Switch Online, so maybe the special edition would help, because
you
that...
start with level 9 everything.
Okay.
And you can, like, it's still challenging on, like...
Yeah, because one of the things about that game is it's like... Yeah, one of my problems with that game was, like, you could grind and grind and grind, but, like, if you weren't good at the game, you still probably die just as much.
So the trick isn't so much grinding. The trick is getting your combat skill up instead of your magic and health. So you sacrifice magic and health, but you only level up your, like, combat abilities, so that when you actually beat the palace, you're not leveling up, like, the experience that you need to level up your health and magic is like 50 or 100, but your experience to level up, like, your combat is like 3,000 experience. But what happens is when you beat that palace, it takes the next attainable goal and maximizes that all the way through. So you end up with, like, a difference of like 2,900 experience that adds to like your combat ability. So like your combat's 4, and you become a glass cannon. It makes the game really, like, challenging, but it makes it easier to beat, because you're like this uber strong dude that can, like, level up your health and stuff later, but you have to be pretty good at the combat to be able to, like, knock out the early Iron Knuckles and the Stalfos. And then Death Mountain just, like, kicks your butt. Because that's hard.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I notice about the game is, like, as much as you level up, like, it feels like you level up health, and you've gone from being 2-shot to being 2.1 shot. It's like not that much of a... Yeah, it's not that much of an upgrade. It's like, why did I even bother?
Yeah. It's difficult. Zelda 2 is... Zelda 2 is tough. It's the black sheep of the series, too, because at that point you had Zelda, and then it's like, well, it's the second game, but we're going to try and do something different. Whereas, like, every other game since then was like, we don't really want to do something different. We kind of just want to make it like the first game.
I mean, well, Majora's Mask could be like considered a black
It's
sheep
another
too.
black sheep too. Yeah.
It's funny though, because I feel like for one reason or another, every game in the Zelda series could be considered the black sheep, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, but
Because the Zelda series really just jumps all over the place with whatever the whoever the director is or the particular team involved is just like, this is what we're doing this time. Okay, sometimes it's even produced by Capcom, and then it's like even more of a what's gonna happen. Then you get your Minish Cap, and you're like, oh, this still feels like Zelda, but it's nothing like Zelda. It's awesome. This is one of the things I love most about the Zelda series is it doesn't really have a grounded, this is what Zelda is. It has kind of a couple of overarching, okay, there's a lot of exploration, and there's a pretty good amount of puzzle solving, and then sometimes there's some pretty good story, and sometimes there's some pretty good this and that, it's all over the place. Like, even if you looked at the art
Mario.
style, like if you look at a piece of artwork of Malon from Ocarina of Time, and Terran from Link's Awakening, Link from Wind Waker, and Ilia from Twilight Princess, and you'd never heard of a Zelda game, you would never guess that those 4 characters are from the same series.
Sure.
Never. Right?
Yeah. They're very different.
Like, maybe Malon and Ilia, but yeah. Even then, like, it's a little bit of a stretch. It's like, even the art style changes literally just on a whim. It's crazy. Which is one of the things I love about Zelda, is you just can never expect where it's going to go next. Like, sometimes it's just like, we're going to have a Hyrule Warriors sequel that's canon. What?
That broke the internet.
Yeah.
Oh,
We got
I
a
was like
console war
freaking
going
out at
on,
that
and
when that was
and that
announced.
broke the internet. We had Xbox dropping stuff. We had PS5 dropping, and then Nintendo's like, here's a sandwich, and it just like
it was a good sandwich.
Hyrule Warriors is maybe canon now. What?
And
Yeah.
Mario coming out too. Like, what a deal.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love how Nintendo just knows the power it wields, and it is boss.
Yeah.
Nintendo's one of those
Nintendo
girls that's
power.
hot and you know it. That's
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo. Nintendo's hot and you know it.
How do you know
And that's
Nintendo's
what-
not a guy? It's a hot girl and she knows it, but it's not a hot guy and he knows it?
I mean, they could be.
Like, if Nintendo was a guy or a girl, I would probably do them.
The secret to being hot
Later.
is just deciding that you're hot.
It's true.
True.
I thought that line might have been the podcast ender for sure.
I thought about it, and then I was like, wait, hold on. Are we going to go dirtier from here? What's going on? I was, like, analyzing the situation, so I held off for a second. So I was like, okay. So are we going dirtier, or should I just, like, find an awkward medium and cut it off?
That's all I got. I cut myself off.
You can't cut yourself off on Drink to the Past. This is a drinking podcast. I knocked over my shot glass.
Look at this really giant cheeseburger.
I will fucking drink to that. I had a
love the
cheeseburger
look.
probably close to that size one time. I had a gift card that my brother gave me. He moved to Las Vegas, and he was like, hey, I have this gift certificate that I won in a trivia contest once. Do you want it? And it's like a $75 gift certificate to this place. And I went to this pub, and they had like a build-your-own cheeseburger thing. And on the cheese list, they literally had like 25 kinds of cheeses. And I was just like, give me all of them, except for blue cheese. Fuck you, blue cheese.
All of them.
All of the cheese.
All the cheese?
Yeah, I'll find
my
I'll
God.
find the picture and I'll link it to you guys.
Oh,
It was
oh
just
my
like
Fat
it's just
cheese.
like it's a cheeseburger, seriously, like almost the size of my head, and like 3/4 of it is just different slices of cheese. There's like fucking provolone and Swiss and goat cheese and just like, what are all these cheeses? I've never even heard of some of these, but put them on.
Yeah, one of my favorite sets of pictures is one of my best friends, Trevor. When I went to go hang out with him for the first time in Long Island, funny enough, we went to Wendy's to get a just get some lunch, and he got their largest burger possible, the triple, and it was like the size of his head. And I have before and after pictures of like him looking at it before, and he had this expression of like, I guess I'm doing this. And then an after of him like sweating and defeated and just a broken man with like a quarter of a burger still left.
Oh,
It's
broke
so
him.
funny.
Does his last name start with an M?
No, it does not. It starts with a P.
Take off my hat to you.
You almost just blew Kevin's mind.
I was like, what? Like, what? At the Wendy's that him and I have probably gone to? Dude.
No, is fuck, what?
I don't know.
What's
I was
the
in the
township?
generation in high school where I had a bunch of disposable income. So I remember when they introduced the Baconator, and when they introduced it, it was only available in triple. That was like the size of Baconator. They didn't have the single Baconator and the double Baconator and the triple in it. They had the Baconator, and it had 3 fucking pieces of meat and 9 fucking pieces of bacon. That was it. That was the Baconator. So that's how I grew up eating Baconators.
Did you count the bacon to make sure there was 9 pieces?
I did the first time. After that, I was just like, fuck it, whatever.
I would definitely be counting my bacon.
Yeah, just make sure. Like, I paid $9 fucking bucks for this meal. I better have 9 pieces of bacon.
Smithtown. He was from
Heck
Smithtown.
yeah.
Oh, okay. That's
So in Long Island, do you guys just call it tea?
No, we call it Long Island iced tea.
What? Doesn't that feel like superfluous? Is that like a guy in China calling like sesame chicken just food?
Did you have American cheese on your cheeseburger?
Well, fuck, you got me there.
Mm.
I mean, of all people, I guess I am the man that eats a Denver omelet the most.
Sure. Sounds like a thing.
Yeah.
It's Long Island iced tea. It's like that's all we
I
have.
thought about making an omelet before the podcast because I was like, I've got to do 4 shots and drink at least 1 beer. I better have something to eat before this podcast, and I made bacon and eggs instead of an omelet, and it was
Welcome
fucking
to
great.
Long Island. We have iced tea and Montauk Point. And that's about it.
We have bagels and pizza.
Okay, somebody say something awkward so I can cut off the podcast, please.
I've got 2 copies of Twilight Princess HD on the Wii U.